Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey, once again, it is showtime for the weather. It's almost 8 o'clock. So no, it's not 9:30, it's not noon. That's usually when I go in to give the forecast, but since we have an ongoing cold rain event, we're going to discuss that and show you the cold rain moving into central Oklahoma and southern Oklahoma. And of course, I'm joking with that. It's obviously ice, and we're going to talk about where the ice is going, who is it going to affect, how much amounts are coming in, if anything's changed, and just kind of take a look at just live conditions, how roadways holding up, all that and more. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share the video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather. Get the most accurate forecast that there is in this part of the world. And if you're asking, did I call for this ice storm? Yes, I did. When? Last Sunday. Can you really do that 8 days out? Yes, you can. How do you know? Because I just did it. So it's not often I do that, though. I got to be pretty confident to put that out there, just so you know. And it worked out for me this time. But, of course, nobody wants an ice storm. Now, the good news is this will be on if you're going to have an ice storm, this is the lower end of the scale of one. So no one is going to complain about that, including yours truly. So we are still going to get some, a few power outages. We're still going to get, obviously, the traffic nightmares. And some of you are probably going to make it to school or work tomorrow morning. So we're going to outline that for you as well. Checking you guys on YouTube. Thanks for coming in. As usual crew is in the 405, coming in from other area codes as well. I like when you guys type in there the chat where you guys are coming from. So, yeah, Jim, that first little round of light shower activity that came through around 2:30, 2:45, 3 o'clock here in central Oklahoma, that gave a little light glaze of ice on the elevated surfaces. It wasn't enough to overcome, what was going on at the ground level. So I don't think, at least in my area, I didn't notice any ice on the roadways at that point in time. It was just like your lawn furniture and that kind of stuff. But the dew points are still really low and the air is still relatively dry. That was our first wave to kind of help moisten up the atmosphere we talked about. That wasn't even the main wave. That was like a precursor. So that would just kind of help moisten up the atmosphere and get things going here in central Oklahoma to set the stage for the next round, which is coming in right now. And this next round is the one that's just going to be a done deal maker. So if you still had a few things to run around town on, that window has now closed, and we're going to show you that. So here's a look out there currently. Obviously cloudy right now. I've got 31.8 degrees, so my temperature has been bouncing up around. I think the lowest I saw was 30.5, and then back up to around 30.8. Now my dew point is, well, it's not on this map here, but on my other one, it says 19 degrees. So obviously I've got a ways to go to wet bulb down with some more precipitation, and anything that falls in the atmosphere when you've got a temperature of 32 or less is obviously in the category of ice. So that will be freezing rain. So again, thanks you guys for chiming in on the chat section, both on YouTube and on Facebook. As always, appreciate your support in that way, because that helps the algorithms too, to let them know that you obviously have some interest in this channel and in the content. So I'm going to post the link for you guys who are watching on Facebook. I know this doesn't always work. I get it. So there is a link on Facebook to join the live broadcast channel that it created for me. And it's got 5,000 people in already. And I'm wondering if Facebook capped it, and that's why it's not working so much. I don't know. They didn't tell me. They don't tell me anything. They just do stuff, and I just, oh, that's available? Okay. So I know about as much as you do, but you can click this link here, and I will send you a custom message on your Facebook Messenger on your phone, mobile device, using this method. So you have to be on your mobile device to get access to this broadcast channel. It's kind of like Instagram. If you've had an Instagram and you know there's Instagram channels, it's the same idea. I think they just stole it. They probably tested it there first and then brought it on over to the Facebook side. So that's probably the back end of that story. But okay, so all that's said and done, we minimize that stuff, and let's get to what's happening out there currently. All right, so let's do this first. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. So normally when we go to the Storm Prediction Center, we're talking about tornadoes, right? Big storms. Well, this time around, they're talking about a big batch of freezing rain moving into southern Oklahoma from North Texas into an area where temperatures are below freezing. And again, those dew point values are also well below 32, which means any precipitation falling in this area is going to be coming down in the form of ice. And of course, that's going to cause problems on the roadways, bridges, etc. So that is what they're talking about in that latest discussion. Let me see if there's anything of importance in that. No, not really. It just talked about a little bit of dry air left from that first wave, not much. That would be overcome by this new wave that moved on in. Oh, it also did state that the models were running a little warm over the last 12 to 24 hours in trends compared to actual real-time temperatures, meaning the models busted. Surprise, surprise. That's the reason why in my forecast last night and today I went with the 3-kilometer high-res NAM. It is the best at dealing with this type of a situation for Arctic air, and it was the only one that had a clue at what temperatures were going to do. So here's a look at the overall picture here of the state, and all the white numbers you see on the screen. Yes, those are all actual air temperatures. So we're into the 20s here in northeastern Oklahoma. 30s looks like elsewhere, some 20s still pocket kind of thrown in, and they're actually falling. So temperatures are actually getting a little bit lower as we get this precipitation moving on in. And this little highlighted ring you see here is where the Storm Prediction Center had their discussion points. So let's just say that the radar's having a tough time deciding what color to make it. It puts the winter mode on there. And where you see the pink, that's where it's got freezing rain. And technically all of this is freezing rain, but it's calling it snow. Because, like I said, it's a rudimentary way to try to transfer this over to a freezing rain display. This doesn't quite always work out so well. I could turn that off and it just looked like regular greens, all right? So you can look at it this way and go, oh, look, all that rain. But technically it's not really rain, it's freezing rain. Either way, matter of fact, I'll just leave it green just for now, just because it doesn't really do us any good to change it over. But it does show you what's coming in. And if you look here, oh, look at that, there's all of a sudden a report of a school or business closure in this particular location. We'll probably get a lot of those pop up on the map. But there's a report of freezing rain here on the south side of 240, also out toward Tinker's drizzle, toward Twin Lakes, freezing rain. Here on the south side of Moore, freezing rain. Norman, freezing rain. So all the way down to Noble. Out here toward Blanchard, Newcastle, freezing rain. And of course, these are just reports that people come in with the ping system that you can send to the National Weather Service. Down here in Duncan's, freezing rain. What about here in Lawton? Let's see. We got mixed freezing rain and ice pellets. In other words, had a little bit of sleet mixed in at one point. Otherwise, freezing rain there. In Elgin, looks like freezing rain. All the way down here to Temple, let's see, yep, freezing rain. Let's go over here to Ardmore. No reports, but look at temperatures in the upper 20s. So you can infer, even though nobody's reporting it, that you're getting freezing rain there as well. Because look at that dew point. When I put this on the screen for you, 28 degrees temperature, dew point 25. So in other words, those temperatures are starting to meet. The temperature's coming down, the dew point's going up, and now they're going to probably hold together around 20, we'll call it 26 and a half, 27 degrees, and it'll sit there for the rest of the evening, overnight, and then gradually warm up a degree an hour as we head in toward the morning hours. And that'll start the trend for the warm up down there. Wichita Falls also getting some freezing rain. This little batch of rain is also moving through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Let's take a look at these guys down here. In Fort Worth, they're reporting rain conditions on both of these. If you look at temperatures, it says 34 over 27. Now, technically, that temperature should be falling to about 31 at least, and that dew point coming up to close to 29 or 30. So it may take just a few more minutes, but honestly, just given the difference between the temperature and the dew point down here, you're pretty close to getting freezing rain. There's 37 over 23 here in Crowley. So be prepared out here in the Fort Worth there. This could easily turn over to a quick glazing of ice, especially on bridges and overpasses once that wet bulb temperature is realized. And it could just happen just the next half hour to an hour. So be careful out there. Otherwise, a little bit warmer out here at Weatherford. They were 36 with a dew point of 32. So in other words, they cannot get ice anymore. The dew point is too warm, let's put it that way, too moist. If you look over to the east, you see this, Carroll, you're at a dew point of 16. And here is Rockwall. Let's see, no, that's not Rockwall. That's where are we? East side of Dallas. Forney. I was going to say Mesquite, so it's one of those. But that's a dew point of 18. So the point is, you have an easterly wind coming in across eastern Texas into Dallas-Fort Worth. So you have basically a dry air advection bringing in those upper teens. Meanwhile, you're trying to moisten up the air here on the west side of town with the heavy rain. So you do have a little bit of advection of dry air, which means lowering the dew point. But at the same time, you're trying to raise the dew point from the rain. So there's going to be this little battle here across Dallas-Fort Worth as to who's going to win out. As if you can get the rainfall and the temperature to come down a little bit, and the dew point to come down a little bit with it from the advection, then you can get a little bit better opportunity for ice. So we'll see what happens here. Dallas has been a wild card this whole week. I've had them on the fence. And it was one of those deals, it could go either way, but you got to err on the side of caution due to the population, the amount of highways and vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens with them this evening. They're going to be in the fine line. Otherwise, you don't have to go too far north from there. I think it was Gainesville and Sherman. There you go. There's plenty of cold air and low dew points to work with here to get ice from there up to Thackerville. So if you're trying to travel back and forth to Dallas, that window has closed because now we have freezing rain moving all the way through. All right, let's go up here to northeast Oklahoma and out east. So some light stuff here in Holdenville, Wetumpka, Shawnee, starting to get some action. McAllister's about to get some action. There's being reports of freezing rain down here. All right, we go up here to Mounds. Let's see, Tulsa. Let's see, freezing rain, freezing drizzle. And that's been going on actually for the last couple of hours. And I know the roadways up here have been deteriorating with time. Here's a report of icy sidewalks and driveways. And there's another report, icy sidewalks and driveways. So these reports are very helpful when you have a situation like this. But some heavy stuff here around Catoosa, Claremore, Nowata, up to Veneta, and Littapah, and some light stuff in Bartlesville. So that's actually leftover from that first round that moved through central Oklahoma. It did much better in northeast as far as producing precipitation. If you head on up to southeastern Kansas, to Chanute, Parsons, Nodesha, Independence, you're still getting plenty of freezing rain in your area as well. Your temperature is 28 degrees over 14 for dew points. You've got plenty of time to have freezing rain. Light stuff here from Wichita on down south. And then here in northern Oklahoma, on the west of I-35 out toward Enid, looks like you got a little bit of light freezing rain as well, kind of moving through the area. Your temperatures are into the low 30s, over dew point to the teens. So you wet bulb down, no problem. Once that precipitation gets a little heavier and overcomes some slightly dry air, you will start to get some accumulation on your roadways. So that is the big picture of Oklahoma as far as the freezing rain is concerned. If you look down south, we said from Texas, obviously there's the tail end of this little batch of rain that's moving through now. And let's see if it shows up here. It sort of does, but not much. You can kind of vaguely see some new activity here across Mexico and some down here. This is the next wave coming in after this wave. So there's a few waves embedded within this. Temperatures down here, by the way, in west central Texas, let me see, 37 over 37. So they're clear. They're free and clear of any ice. They've warmed up since the afternoon down here, and they've moistened. So the ice threat is continuing to evaporate down here in Texas. It's starting to shift now, basically into the this little quadrant. What's left of it kind of dips down right around here, like so, and then back up like this. So this is kind of the leading edge of what's left for potential ice accumulations. That kind of cuts Dallas-Fort Worth in half. Like I said, we'll see what happens down there. Okay, but the good news is, I'd rather be on the dividing line with warm air advection just to your south moving in than on the line where we are, where we got plenty of hours coming in of more freezing rain. So again, if you're joining me late, we do have this light to moderate freezing rain moving back in. So if you're in Edmond, you're going, I haven't seen anything yet. Well, don't worry. If you look outside window now, you're probably getting a little something. But the heavier stuff is down here on the south side of town. Getting more reports of freezing rain all across the Oklahoma City metro. And temperatures vary anywhere from 28 to 30 degrees. Like I said, I'm at 31. I'm on the warm side because I'm in Edmonds because we haven't had the heavy precipitation yet. But once that moves in, my temperature will drop as well. All right, so that's a look at that. Let me take you to the satellite deal I wanted to show you. All right, so this is our first, well, I guess technically our second wave that's moving through right now that we talked about, that we showed you on radar. The old one has already kind of moved off here with the tail end of it back in northeast Oklahoma. And then down here, and this is what I was saying, it was kind of hard to see. It's better on the satellite view because it's way down to Mexico. So that's our next big wave, and this is going to be making its way northward as well. Now, if you noticed, there's a break between here and here of no precipitation. So once this first wave moves out here in about an hour or so, we will get a bit of break as far as anything heavy. but we're going to have new stuff kind of fill in quickly behind it. So we're going to have another round coming up later on this evening and tonight. That's got a long way to go, and this was going to hit us for Monday morning. So we still got plenty of precipitation in the gravy train of the jet stream pattern coming our way. And as we talked about, we do have the winter weather advisory, which is in this kind of a purple shading, which covers central, southwest, northeast Oklahoma. The pink area is a winter storm warning. The purple is an ice storm warning. So what's the difference, you ask? Tomato, tomato. It's all ice, but the amount is the key here. So the Weather Service is going for up to 1/4 of an inch of ice in this area right here, or maybe slightly over, is what I believe the warning criteria is set. I can pull that up here in a second. And then this over here, they were going anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice. And so that was the main difference maker. So if I zip on down here, let's go find out. So we'll click on the ice storm warning. This is for eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas. Let's see, additional ice accumulations up to or slightly above 1/4 of an inch. Oh, no, excuse me, that's for the winter storm warning. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. So winter storm warning did first. So there you go. Significant ice accumulations up to or slightly above 1/4 of an inch. Now, technically, if it's above 1/4 of an inch, it's supposed to be an ice storm. So that's how the Weather Service can ride the fence as well, which is probably why they kind of hemmed and hawed and took a while before they issued the product. Which way were they going? Were they going to go an ice storm warning, or are they going to go a winter storm warning? You know, what's the significant difference? What's the message that's going to be received? So they probably battled it out inside. They probably played rock, paper, scissors, and finally came out with it. So in the purple area, though, which is eastern Oklahoma into western Arkansas, they went up a little higher. They said ice accumulations from 1/4 to 1/2 inch in combination with sustained wind speeds from about 15 to 20 miles per hour with higher gusts. So the reason for that is because there's probably greater potential for to have power line issues or power issues. So if you look at the ice accumulation index that was designed from some smart people, friends of mine up in Tulsa, and they have an ice damming index of 2 whenever you have 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of ice accumulations, and you have a wind anywhere between 15 to 35 miles per hour. In that, you get scattered utility interruptions expected. That's a fancy way of saying you lose power, typically lasting 12 to 24 hours. Roads and travel conditions may be extremely hazardous due to ice accumulations. So we're going to be primarily in 2. So when you're talking about this ice storm compared to other ice storms, we're in ice storm category 2. Can you be in ice storm category 1? You sure can. Some of you will be. Will you be in ice storm category 3? Does not look like it. If it did, it would just kind of hug the border here between 2 and 3 based off the numbers on their scale that they've worked out in. What's the difference? If you get to the 3 category, it's numerous utility interruptions with some damage to main feeder lines and equipment expected. Tree limb damage is excessive, outage lasting 1 to 5 days. So obviously you don't want to be in a 3. And then if you do have one of those mega ice storms that we do get around here at times, you get a 4 and you get a 5. But if you notice, the ice damage index goes from a 0 to a 5. That is for an ice storm. For ice storm, whether it's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. It's all an ice storm. If you really wanted to have an ice storm in here that hardly bothered anybody, you would want the damage 0 index of 0, which is less than 1/4 inch of rain, hardly any wind, minimal risk of damage to exposed utility systems, no alerts or advisories needed for crews, a few outages. So that would be the most minor, easiest one to deal with. We're kind of on the moderate category here, just kind of teetering on that one. So that's kind of the way that looks when you're looking at how these things are discussed and designed, and that kind of stuff behind the scenes. All right, so let's go back to the maps. How are our winds right now? Keeping that map in mind, that scale, that legend, we have anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 mile per hour wind gusts in this area of the state, and we have up to 20 to 30 in this part of the state. And this is important because where our significant icing is going to be tonight, where you do get about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice, and this is in the prior data. We'll look. Some new data will be coming in. I don't know if it'll be in by the time we finish this little this quick summary, but regardless, the old data had suggested that type of icing accumulation, kind of in this this little area here. So if you notice, the wind speeds here aren't quite that strong. Now, at times it may end up being because it's got several hours to go, and the models do indicate that will occur at some point. But anyway, so that seems to be where the heaviest ice accumulation will be. The secondary target isn't too far from that. Kind of just hugs the I-44 corridor as a secondary for about a quarter of an inch at most. So that's good. Then up here, we're talking about a tenth of an inch or less elsewhere over this section of Oklahoma. Okay, and then let's go on and see what else we got here for you. We could take a look at. Well, as a reminder, drive slow. If you do have to go out, your boss says, sorry, you got to come in, or you got to go to the hospital because you work the ER. I get it. Black ice is very difficult to see, almost impossible to drive on, so you got to be very, very slow. Do not brake or speed excessively on those ice patches. You kind of have to slow down ahead of time. So if you look at ground temperatures, not really going to help us much. This is a key factor. And when you have this type of precipitation, we've got readings pretty much between, is there any 30s in here, like 30? I don't see. I think 31 is the lowest. But again, 31 is below freezing, up to about 34. Now, a lot of times we get these little ice events, our ground temperatures are like 36, 39, 40 sometimes. And when that happens, you have to get the actual air temperature very, very cold to offset the heat from the roadway below. And that usually then prevents icing to a greater extent. And so the rule of thumb is usually when the air temperature is 29 degrees or less, 27 is really the ideal sweet spot. 28 is still pretty good. 29 is the bare minimum to overcome any heat from the ground to prevent icing on the roadways. So when it's colder to that level, it doesn't matter what the temperature of the ground is. If it's 27 degrees outside, you got a skating rink regardless of what the ground temperature is. Well, this time we don't have that extra heat to deal with, so that criteria doesn't necessarily have to be met. So we have made more of a problem with an override skating rink with a temperature of 30 degrees versus 27, 28, or even 29, just because our ground temperatures aren't that much different. In some cases, they're already below freezing. So that's another change in this outcome that's usually not with us. We usually have these periods of warm weather ahead of time, and allows us to warm up the ground, but that's not going to be the case. All right, so when I talked about dew point is everything. This is the forecast model for the dew point values here for tonight. So let me zip onto this period of time, which is 8 o'clock right now. All right, so there we go, 9 o'clock. So dew point values in the teens to the east, mid-20s here in central Oklahoma. The question is, when do they get above freezing? Because until they're above freezing, you're going to get freezing drizzle, freezing rain accumulate. All right, let's go to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. What do you have? You got dew point values in the upper 20s. So your air temperature will also be pretty close to that because we should be saturated. Let's go on to 6 o'clock in the morning. So that means, let's see, from Exception down here, southeast Oklahoma, because the models did try to warm this up in prior data. And you might get a little bit of break in here not being so bad. But elsewhere, dew point values are still holding into the upper 20s by 6 o'clock Monday morning, which means I do not expect, unless you're far northwest Oklahoma, and maybe far southeast Oklahoma, I do not expect you to get a freebie on this one. I think everybody's going to have to deal with ice in the morning. Let's see, let's go to 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Now you can see those temperatures for the dew points really climb. So the melting line now is kind of moving in to southern Oklahoma, Wichita Falls, and nudging on up into the Oklahoma City area. This is at 10 o'clock in the morning, so we're at 32. So in theory, knock on wood, let's say this model was absolutely perfect. At this point in time, that indicates enough warm air advection moisture so that our dew point has risen. And with it being the daylight hours, even though it's cloudy and there's still precipitation around, the sun still actually helps to warm temperatures up just by a fraction or a hair. So by this point, we're probably going to be right about either just above freezing or very close to it. So that means by 11 o'clock, it should be no problem at all. Again, this is assuming that the models have a good handle on the dew point spread here for tonight and how the warm air advection pattern will set up overnight with the heavy rainfall. By lunchtime, pretty much everybody's dew point is above, with exception up here. But we also will start to have our precipitation winding down as well. And there you go. There's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you do have to head out, you have to travel. My advice has been for the last few days, just wait until lunchtime. And then you can go out and do whatever you got to do. If you want to do it earlier, you got to do it earlier. Then watch radar trends. Look at temperatures. If they're 33 degrees, you're good to go. All right. If they're 32, you might be. It depends if it's 32.5. Now, normally, when you are at 32, the roadway still improves some versus like being at 30. That still is a difference. But the bridges and overpasses may still be ice covered. But they'll be treated. So, of course, they can't treat every bridge, but something to think about. All right, let me see what else we got here. I'll show you the big picture of the noontime data of how this other wave comes in. So this is the current wave we have now, shown up here in red, moving through North Texas, I-35 corridor, expanding into Tulsa over the next hour or two. Still moving through central Oklahoma about 11 o'clock. Heavy stuff moving out. And then we got the light stuff. You saw this little light stuff all night long? That's light sprinkles, that's drizzle, etc. And that's going on about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. But then look how it picks up in intensity. These little heavy red areas as we head toward the daybreak hour. So here's that next big batch that moves in. I mean, look at how much Oklahoma is just getting moderate to occasionally heavy freezing rain in this little triangle section as you head into the daybreak hours. And then, if you notice along the Red River, we're getting that changeover to just plain old-fashioned rain, and that's starting to move northward. So as we talked about, as we approach the late morning hours here in Oklahoma City, we start to change back over to rain as that warm air moves in. Still pockets of cold air kind of hanging on at the last minute. Otherwise, we start to eliminate that. And then the other thing to show on this map is what's going on here into the Arkansas, Missouri. Some good heavy freezing rain still ongoing at the lunchtime hour. And this is the little guy right here. This wasn't there in the prior data. We'll see if that shows up tonight. But you might get a little light glazing of ice in the eastern Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma by around lunchtime tomorrow for a little while. But then you can see temperatures do warm, so it doesn't last very long. So what that could mean is if you're traveling, you don't expect it, all of a sudden it's there, and then 2 hours later it's gone. Temperatures warmed up. But that's kind of how that looks. If you want to get a close-up view, so I want to show you that so you can get a picture if you live outside of Oklahoma, say you're in Texas and Arkansas, Missouri, kind of give you an idea. But here's a close-up view, 7, 8 o'clock, which is where we are now. So this model did a really good job on timing as far as this new wave coming in. Expanding here at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Just heavy, heavy stuff. Now the back end is kind of in this fashion right here for very, very light stuff. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. But you can see for the heavy stuff, that I-44 corridor we talked about for the last few days, man, it is that hard line in the sand this time around. Let's go to 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8, 9. And there's that new wave coming in Oklahoma City, but it has some warm air coming up with it too. So it may start out as a little heavy round of ice, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, but then quickly moderate and turn back over to cold rain. But regardless, that does move off to the north, and then there it gets past the I-44 corridor, 11 o'clock in the morning. But at the same time, we're also playing the game of warming temperatures up, so we'll see how far north it can get from Enid to Ponca City before it tries to moderate. And the model right now currently hangs it in there, at least for a little while, through Enid before it turns back to rain, and then there's Ponca City and southern and southeastern Kansas for a little bit. So these little flashes in the pan of ice coming through. All right, so let's see. Let's go to Monday afternoon. Things kind of quieting down. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. A little bit more action up here for you guys in southern Kansas. This is a new update from the model. This was not in any of the prior data set. The way this system is coming out has a little bit stronger upper storm system look to it because it's not sampled well by our radio sounds, the balloon soundings, because a lot of it's over Mexico. So we don't have a lot of data to feed it. So it looks like some of the ones caught it in this last round. They indicate a little stronger activity. So that means you guys will have some action through Monday morning into, Monday evening into Kansas. That will move on away. So watch out for slick and hazardous travel in that region. Otherwise, we're going into Tuesday. I want to show you that although we'll be cool, we will not be below freezing as the next round moves in. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. So you see a good old nice heavy rainfall moving on through. Models are teetering with some temperatures close to freezing by 10 o'clock Tuesday night out here in the Panhandle, but I don't think I was very confident that was a good outcome. Let's see. Right now they've got 32 over 32, so it does have freezing rain in there. So it would be a very close call if that were to be the case. But watch for that little area then as we head toward midnight Tuesday night into northwest Oklahoma. So that's the latest on that data. Let me see if anything's come in the evening run. And it did. Actually, the model that we're looking at now, the whole suite isn't in. In other words, it's got a few more hours to finish, but we can see how it's done compared to the midday run we just looked at. So we'll have to look at it together. So this will be our first time that I look at it. All right, so there's 8, 9, 10, 11. You can see Tulsa. Now the model's trying to say there's some purple in here for sleet. That's what that is. It's saying, hey, there's going to be a little sleet mixed in ahead of this. otherwise freezing rain. And we have had a few sleet reports. Not many, just a few. It's been mostly all freezing rain. All right, so anyway, there's 11. All right, there's midnight. Some heavy drizzle, light freezing rain moving through central Oklahoma. And then that kind of moves up north, Stillwater, Tulsa, Ponca City, Bartlesville. 3 o'clock in the morning. That continues up north now in Tulsa. Another round, Oklahoma City south to Lawton. So you see how it just kind of comes in waves, just one after another. So there's 4 o'clock in the morning, heavy stuff between Oklahoma City, Tulsa, McAllister, light stuff down in southern Oklahoma. 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. See, I'm talking about how the models are trying to eat away some of the colder temperatures here in far southeast Oklahoma, which may allow that some of those areas to get just at or above freezing. Otherwise, icing continues up here in the northeast. And let's go to 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Still got some light stuff here, central Oklahoma. There's 9, 10. And here comes that final wave. Let's see what it does. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So there's lunchtime. It's got that final wave in. So it was, about an hour difference from the midday run. So it has it set of coming in at 11. I think it now has it coming in at noon. Tomato. But the northern fringe, it's almost like a little flash of ice, and then it quickly warms. Same thing for Tulsa. Same idea. There's 1 o'clock, and then there's 2. So, and then here's 3. So it's going to keep this little batch of cold air enough for the early part of the afternoon. So if of all the changes, that's been the only thing I've seen in the new data that has changed. Let's go to Ponca City. 32 over 31. All right, so in that particular case, the only thing that you would have in that issue would be bridges and overpasses. The road should be fine in that case. Let's go to up further. 4, 5 o'clock, 6, moving out of the state. Cold rain for Enid through 7, and then 8 o'clock. So that takes you all the way up through Monday. It didn't go out much further. We'll see if it gets the next system, and it doesn't. Not surprised. Okay. Let's see. Why don't we do what happened down there in Dallas? I didn't pay attention. So let's zip down there, and then we'll also zip over east, and we'll zip up northeast. Okay. So this rain moves through. They get some light rain overnight. 2 o'clock in the morning. The models are keeping it green in Dallas. Let's see what they've got. They've got 35 over 25. So dew point, wet bulb. It's about 31. So the model's not going to know what to do. So it's going to leave it green. But here it tries to speckle in some red. Anyway, still close call. Yeah, there goes some red here at 3 o'clock in the morning in Dallas, Fort Worth. So you guys still are not in the clear. You are right on the edge, man. Oh, that's a nightmare for a forecaster. I mean, it's impossible. It puts you in an impossible. It's like putting Norman and Edmund. And it's okay. So which one of you is going to get all the ice? Which one's going to go cold rain? You know, and the models don't know where to put the line. It's the same idea, but we're just split it this way, left and right, instead of up and down. Anyway, so yeah, just call for ice down there in Dallas, Fort Worth, up northward in North Texas through 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And as you head at 6 o'clock, it should warm up. The prior data I had seen had things moderating in Dallas anyways. And temperatures even tonight look like they've already moderated enough to where this should bust. And there should not be any ice at 7 o'clock in the morning. But still may be, though, some here across the northern counties of Texas. But the model through 8 is still hanging on to it, man. It does not want to let that go. There's 9 o'clock and there's 10 o'clock. Heavy rain moving through Dallas during the morning hours. Okay, let's shift on over to Arkansas. And then we'll do Missouri, and I'll do Kansas. A little round robin here. Okay, so if you guys up there in northwestern Arkansas, midnight, heavy stuff. Rogers and Fayetteville, Fort Smith. That moves on to Mountain Home. So there's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The Russellville as well. Then that's your first wave. Here's your second wave. 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Models warm things up really fast. There's the trajectory that you're in is a warm air advection trajectory, like a theta E axis. So you have the potential to warm things up fairly early in this event for you guys in Arkansas at 10 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, the mountains and terrain will dictate, where the ice still remains as temperatures kind of pool in those areas. So the model's still keeping pretty icy conditions around Russellville through 11 o'clock in Mountain Home, but already moderated there in Fort Smith. Let's go to 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, and it's pretty much out of there. All right, let's go to Missouri, and we'll go to Kansas. Okay, so we are now into Missouri for the same system. Heavy stuff here by midnight. southwest corner of the state through Joplin and Springfield. Clinton, Columbia, starting to get some action. We'll head at 3 o'clock in the morning to Rolla and Columbia. And there's St. Louis, also getting some freezing rain with this at 5 o'clock. Kind of keeps going in waves like everybody else. Here's another wave from Joplin to Springfield and Branson, Missouri. There's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12, 1, and 2. It's starting to erode all that cold air, pushing all the icy stuff to the east and northeast. And let's see, by 5 o'clock, it's mostly out of Missouri, and it's moving on off Springfield and points eastward. Okay, so now let's go to Kansas. All right, Kansas. Same idea. Heavy stuff southeast. It's not picking up the really light stuff here in the north. Otherwise, at least it's getting the heavy stuff. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. It's not really doing much for you guys. You should get at least a little bit light around Wichita and south to the Oklahoma border, even though it didn't show up very well. All right, and then there's your other round for Monday afternoon, 3 and 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock going through Wichita, and coming up toward Topeka at 7, 8, 9. Kind of a deal. You get a little quick batch of ice, but then it's followed by warm temperatures that melts it immediately. It's almost not a problem unless you have it right there at that one time and it coats a bridge really fast. If you look out to Garden City and Dodge City, obviously their temperatures are colder. Therefore, it has a little thin line of ice that moves through, cutting the state in half, east to west, east side warm enough, west side cold enough. So Hayes and Salina on up north through 6 a.m. Tuesday. So that's your situation up there into Kansas. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. I bet you we can look at least a couple of the ice accumulations from these maps and see, based off this new model run. So we'll do this one. All right, so the HER, which has been flip-flopping like a fish out of water, is back to the heavy side again. Quarter to a tenth to 2/10 of ice here in Oklahoma City, 2/10 to a quarter in the Tulsa area. East here to Fort Smith, looks like another 3/10 to half an inch. A little hot spot around McAllister down south, 3/10, and up here toward Paoli, Paul's Valley, Ardmore, another 3/10 or so of ice accumulations. Now the NAM, which we just looked at a minute ago, this is what it's showing. Similar, like I said, it tries to warm up that corner of southeast Oklahoma. Otherwise, there's a sweet spot here of half an inch down here in south central Oklahoma, just north of Ardmore. Otherwise, Paoli, Paul's Valley, and up into the Norman area, almost 3/10 of an inch to, south side of the metro. Otherwise, it's got 2/10 here in Oklahoma City. And Tulsa's back in the house now of 3/10 to 4/10 of ice. Duncan, about 4/10. Lawton, there must be a geographical, it's probably because of the mountains. That's what it's doing down here. I was like, why does it keep putting this little hot spot down here? I never even thought about it. So yeah, a little mountain terrain down here. Obviously, there's some pooling of some cold air that probably gets into those valleys. And so that's why the model's producing more ice. For you guys up here northwest of Lawton, it keeps putting up the little hot spot every now and then in the data. And but anyway, that would make sense. But it's a little micro effect, microclimate. Down here, it's got this little bit of light glazing in looks like Fort Worth. Doesn't have much in Dallas. Plano got a little bit. So it's right on the edge of Dallas-Fort Worth for the ice accumulation. So that's the NAM model. And I think that's good enough for me. Let's go east. All right, so the NAM has reduced amounts in the Fort Smith to Russellville area because of that warm air advection that kind of came in so early in the morning. Now that's a huge change because it had this place hammered. So the models are having a very difficult time with that warm air advection. Now that's the NAM, which is who I've been leaning toward this last couple days. The HER, which I'd love to trust it, but I can't because it wishy-washes too much on this. But it's going more back on the heavier side of ice. So Fort Smith up to around half an inch, Russellville up around half an inch, around town to the north, and Mena. All right, so let's go up north. And again, about half an inch of ice, southern areas of Missouri, stretching up to St. Louis, about a quarter up there. And this little heavy track has been shifting around. Sometimes it's along the interstate, and other times it's south of it, but that's the general area. And there's your amounts. They range anywhere, just like Oklahoma, anywhere from a few hundredths to a tenth to a quarter of an inch to, in some remote places, up to half an inch. All right, we'll go to Kansas. There's a southeastern corner of the state, immeasurable ice. That'll be a problem for bridges, overpasses, and roadways. Okay, and then I didn't do Texas. Let's do that real quick. So this is the HER model down here, which keeps Dallas-Fort completely out of it. And if you look at the NAM, it splits the difference. Just barely includes Dallas-Fort Worth. So, woof, close call down here. All right, what else we got? So the what we call the Winter Storm Severity Index, where you're going to have your most problem areas for travel, combination with power, potential power outage issues. It only updates, I believe it's, is it twice a day? Let's see. Well, this updated at 4 o'clock, so it's more than twice a day. I don't get to use it that much because we don't usually have these kind of events, and it's new. But the ice accumulation that I've clicked on highlights moderate impacts here in western, northwestern Arkansas, Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, and southeast Oklahoma, areas of that. Even has Tulsa in here as one of those spots. Does not include Oklahoma City. Now, moderate just means disruptions to daily life, hazardous driving conditions, extra caution, closures, and disruptions in infrastructure will occur, meaning power outages. Not to say you can't get them elsewhere, but that's just where the more favorable region is. All right, so let's do this. Let's go back to radar, and let's see what we've got, the new updates. Got a lot of triangles on here. Icy sidewalks, driveways, icy sidewalks, driveways, icy sidewalks, driveways, all the way down to Norman. Even down here to Blanchard. Down here to Chickasha. All right, and then even down here to Ada. So, temperatures are also cooling down a little bit more. They're now to the upper 20s over more of an area than they were before. Oklahoma City still kind of holding around 30. What am I at? 30.7. See, when that precipitation moved in, I dropped a full degree. And my dew point has gone up from 19 to 23. So dew point's going up, temperature's coming down as the precipitation comes down. All right, so the northern fringe from Kingfisher to Hennessy, Marshall, Orlando, Mulhall, Billings, Pond Creek, Medford, some very light stuff now moving in your area. All right, over here to the Tulsa area, you guys still got some light stuff around town. Otherwise, your heavier activities down south of you toward Henrietta, Okemah, Calvin, Wetumpka, Holdenville, Allen, McAllister now getting some. And then all the way down to Duncan. Let's go southwest here. Lawton, Apache, Walters. Some even sprinkles down here in Davidson. So Frederick, their temperature there has cooled off 32 over 30. So if you live in southwest Oklahoma, yes, you're still going to be expected to see ice. Now if you live in Altus, that's probably a different story. You're already 34 over 30, so your wet bulb's at about 32. So you're pretty much out of it as far as ice goes. It's going to be just to your east. But North Texas obviously still in it. Go across the border, Bowie, Gainesville, Denison, Sherman, McKinney, 34 over 19. And then you have North Dallas, 36 over 21. Here we go. Mixed rain and snow. Mixed rain and snow. That's what somebody's calling in. Granbury down here, mixed rain and ice pellets. So you're getting a little bit of a wintry mix down here as some of that dry air is becoming saturated, and the precipitation type is changing different formats. So it looks like you guys will start to get your action here. And there's Fort Worth 34 over 27, 36 over 27, 37 over 25. So yeah, all of Tarrant County is going to be below freezing, getting some freezing rain here in the next, well, while this system's moving through. What would save it is by the time it gets everything nice and saturated, where it would really start to get heavy and accumulate, that this wave starts to move off. Because remember, they're at the tail end of that wave. And so that might be their saving grace. Boy, that is a difficult forecast. Man, that's a nightmare. It's a good outcome, though. I mean, if you have most of the heavy rainfall moving off by the time the air completely saturates, that would coat the entire city in ice. Crazy. All right, let's see what else we got. School buses or closures. Yeah, there'll be a lot of those. So that's obviously the staff is waiting till the last minute, seeing the radar trends and going, oh, man, AT was right. I should have listened to him 8 days ago. So no, but they're waking up and they're realizing, obviously we've got some ice to deal with. So that's gonna be the way it is. But the good news is it's a short-lived storm, and it's out of here by, we say, midday tomorrow, and it's a distant memory. Now the good news is also for power outage situations, this is a yeah, Matthew, I covered Joplin, so hopefully you saw that. But what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, power outage situations. So it's time over tension, or tension over time. The point being is where you do have the tension on power lines, the stressors that would then combine with the winds. It's on a short time scale, so that's good. And by the time precipitation really starts to get heavy and accumulate on that and the power in the trees, etc., as that's starting to happen, we're also starting to slowly warm things up. So the good news is, it won't be as bad as it could be because of that outcome. If we had, a cold Arctic air mass that wasn't moderating, it was fresh, it was new, and it was coming in with plenty of cold air advection from the north, then that'd be a whole different outcome. We're stuck with ice for a couple days, and it's a mess to clean up. So thankfully we don't have that situation. We have this one, which is 12-hour period, 18-hour period of ice, followed by a cold rain that you wouldn't even know it was iced, after a few hours on Monday, and go, oh, it was ice last night? No, it's just a wet, cold rain. So we don't get that outcome that often, so it's good to see. Okay, so that's what I've got for you. It's 8:40. I'm gonna go eat dinner. As far as what's this in Kansas City, Arkansas? Freezing rain in Arkansas City, across the border. That's what I was saying. The models didn't pick this up very well here in southern Kansas at all, or northern Oklahoma. So you get a glaze up there toward Wichita. All right, let me see. I will go look at the other, the model data that came in. What else was there? Yeah, there was a couple. We'll just look at it real quick. This will be the ice storm totals from the high resolution models that have come in. So let me go to the big picture here, and we'll do a comparison. And I think 24 hours, yeah, and then I think I have to do QPF for this one. Yeah, I do. All right, so let me just look at this. Let me process this for a second, and I'll tell you what I see. All right. So the model still has some convective elements in this. So these little short-term models that we look at, they try to do that by indicating this streaky behavior. See how these streaks go like this? So these are streaks where you get a much higher ice accumulation than you would on the either side of the line. So think of this like thunderstorms, right? And we get those little lines of thunderstorms that go through. Obviously very heavy rain under the thunderstorm, but on either side of it very light. Similar idea, similar physics that they're using to track very moderate to heavy downbursts of rainfall in this, which is in this kind of a pattern. So does it mean it's completely accurate? No. But the take home is that there's going to be strips where you're going to get significant icing versus other areas where you won't in the overall big scheme of things. So that's my take home from that. And that's why the HRRR kind of did that. If you look at the HRRR here, it kind of has those little streaks too. So these type of models do that because they're trying to track the cores of heavy rainfall. And of course, this case is going to be ice. Let me see, can I get, no, I can't do that. Which one? Let me see if this one will do it. Some of these I can't zoom in on. Lame. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that's all right. So, but the bottom line is it's trying to say in some of these models that you could get half an inch or more of freezing rain, those little purple areas. Now, I'm not going to buy that, but what it does, it's dangerous to say that, but what it does tell me is that the rain that's coming tonight will be heavy, all right, heavy enough to produce significant precipitation. We are in a position where we do have our precipitable water way above normal, and I'm going to look at that actually. Let's go. All right, there's Monday afternoon. We go to tomorrow morning. So the precipitable water anomaly, in other words, how much more moisture is in the atmosphere than normally is, and it's normally pretty dry. In other words, if you were to squeeze all this out as a sponge, look how much you get, half an inch of rainfall. So when you look at those ice amounts, it's not like it's out of the question. You know, it's just always kind of shocking to see when you think, really, a half inch of ice? Okay. You know, and you do look at the moisture profile, and the moisture profile does support it. So it's, you know, it's hard to argue against it. You can look at the data and you can disagree with it, but you better have a good reason. You got to be, you know, why are you smarter than the model? What do you see if the model doesn't? You know, so that's one of those deals. But anyway, so that's just look at that new data that came in because I haven't had time to analyze anything. That's my takeaway is there's going to be stretch areas of the quarter to half inch, which has been in the forecast. So there's no reason to take that out. That's what that tells me. And it's going to be, you know, hard to pinpoint, but it's going to be these little stretchy areas, and we kind of outlined where that was in general terms over south central, southeast Oklahoma, and those other hot spots. So nothing's really changed in the forecast and the precipitation's here. So bottom line is, be careful if you have to go out, walk like a penguin. If you're like, what are you talking about, Beavis? So I'll show you that little graphic I had. I got, why are all these other graphics up here? Close all those off. This guy here. And then this guy, walk like a penguin. And that's how you can avoid, in theory, slipping on the ice too much. And as the human being, you kind of put your weight forward. You kind of, in other words, your axis of where you're going to be stable, you're actually going to lean into it when you walk. So above your right front leg. This guy here, he's got his weight distributed evenly. He's walking nice straight up like this, like his mama told him. Keep your shoulders up, keep your head up, walk straight, don't slouch. So you don't want to do that, not on ice. You want to be the sloucher. And that's kind of what the penguin does. Anyway, so that way you have a less likelihood to fall. And if you do fall, don't be this guy. Don't put your hand out. Don't fall on your hip. It's a good way to sprain your wrist, break your arm, break your hip. Instead, try to, as soon as you feel that feeling you're about to lose it, obviously if there's something to grab onto, go for it. But if there's not, you're just walking along and off you go, just try to bring your arms in as fast as you can, as close as you can, and fall flat. Just like a board. Just like that. Because you want to distribute that force evenly across every square inch of your body. And that will reduce your probability of any injury, breaking bones, fractures, all that kind of stuff. So that's how you fall. But you're going to have to tell your mind to be prepared for that, because your mind is going to want to do this. You tell your mind to stop that nonsense. Tell your mind, don't be an idiot. walk like a penguin, and then fall like a board, and that way you'll be all right. Let me see if there's anything else I want to show you. The other stuff I pretty much covered off and on over on my lives, so you should be up to date, good to go. That's it. Okay, so it's here. You guys be safe. I made it the live here for 9:30 or so. I may not actually, because I've told you everything there is to know, and Ice Storm is here. But what else do you want me to tell you? I've said the same thing for 8 days now, so I don't think. But appreciate you guys being with me here for tonight. And again, we'll talk again soon. If it's not later this evening, then I'll check in with you probably in the morning, and then we'll see how everything looks in the data, and then get you out the door safe and sound for Monday afternoon. And hopefully you don't get too much ice, and hopefully you don't lose power. And if you do your best to stay warm. That was the one graphic I think I was going to show you, was if you do lose power in your home, what to do. And remember, you won't be without power very long. It's not one of those situations. But in the short term, if the power is out, close your blinds and the curtains to trap in some heat. That's obviously nighttime as well. Close the rooms off to avoid wasting heat. Wear layers of loose-fitting clothing. Make sure it's warm, obviously. Eat and drink. Food provides energy to warm the body. I know you're going to have your coffee in the morning, power or no power. Supposed to avoid alcohol. And then stuff your towels and rags and cracks in the cracks under the doors. That way you can block off any of that stuff. So that'll help you out too. Okay, I'm out. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Thanks again for your support, for liking the video, sharing it, becoming a supporter on all the social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Subscribestar, I don't know, I've got something. I think I dropped Subscribestar. Anyway, there's a whole list on my website. You can go to aarontutleweather.com. Oh, that was one thing. I knew that's something I was forgetting. So you can get my weather app, AT's Weather to Go, Apple and Google Play. And then on that, there's a menu. And that's what we're going to do, actually. That's what I meant to do. It's just something I was thinking of this whole time. I was like, what am I missing? So you go to the Weather Data tab, and you go to Multi-State Road Conditions. So when you go to there, you will see the latest ground temperatures, kind of give you an idea of where we're at. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the maps of travel for Oklahoma and surrounding states. So, for example, we'll click on this state here in Oklahoma. So you got Oklahoma City. All right, it's in yellow. So in yellow, let's see, where's my legend? There's a legend here somewhere. There it is. Yellow is delays. All right, and red is closed. Green is open. You can click on these little deals here to see a live camera, right? So you can click on that. And then, I don't know what's going to happen when I click on that. I've never clicked on that one. Let's see what it looks like. See if it loads up for me. Stream not available. There it comes. Need me some internet. Okay, so this is great. If you're really concerned, like, okay, how's traffic moving? Is everything coated in ice? Well, let me look outside and see who's done it. Let me see if Bob is out there driving around on it. You can see Bob moving around right here and go, okay, he made it. He's good. So this will tell you whether or not you've got problems, you know, or if things look okay. And you can see how fast they're going to be driving. You can tell whether or not the roads have been, you know, coated. And if obviously if there's accidents, you can see if cars are off the side of the road. You can see the sheen on the roadways, the precipitation coming down. So I'm assuming all of these bridges have been treated because I see the sheen and I know we're below freezing. So otherwise, this should all be a sheet of ice. So good job on ODOT and all the guys out there that do take care of the roadways, because it looks like you did so on time. So therefore, traffic that is out there now, which is light, is moving along pretty good. So anyway, so that's on this map here that we talked about across the state. And you can zoom in anywhere. I just happen to pick Oklahoma City. You can come up here to Tulsa as well. And these will also be like the snowplow trucks and stuff. I just happen to pick a city camera, looks like on that one. And then you've got the map underneath it, which does have the city cameras that you can click on, similar to what I just did. Same kind of idea on this map as well. And these you can zoom in all across the state. So you can go up here to Tulsa, and you can see how Tulsa's doing here. So you click on one of these. Oh, yep, picture not updated. Boo. Come on, guys, get your cameras working. See if this one's working. Yeah, that one's working. So there you go. In Tulsa, you can see this little guy. So all this stuff, and you can do this for surrounding states as well, because all their maps are up here too. Same idea. So if you want to get a quick snapshot tonight, how the road's looking, or in the morning when you get up, use my website, aarontutleweather.com. Click on that weather data tab. Go over there to multi-state road conditions. And the opposite of that, or the alternative to that, rather, is you go to my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. I think it's the third menu item or fourth menu item on the left. And you can get that same information that way as well. That way you're got all the stuff you need. All right, that was it. How do you think Piedmont will fare? Will we miss it? No, you will get some light icing tonight. Barbara says, hubby says AT is right again. Well, thanks for noticing. Shelley, you're welcome. Jody's in the house giving you the tips. Walk like a penguin. We need to play that song. Just Egyptian. We'll just change it to penguin. Let's see. Yep, you do have icing in Okemah, Jennifer. A lot of places have icing now. Let's see. Uh-oh, Hillary stepped on her porch and slid all over the place. Careful. Don't break a hip. Back porch is getting iced in Edmond. Let's see. Marie is in Grayson County, Texas, and their grill and the deck is getting glazed with ice. Which Deer Creek schools would listen and call it. They'll do it at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when they wake up and see how much of a glaze of ice that they have there. I'm pretty sure they'll do it. I think everybody's going to do it. And more, do you expect widespread power outages? Nicole, I do not. I do expect some isolated power outages in Oklahoma City area, the metro, but not necessarily from the ice, just in general terms, because that typically just happens anyways. Now, we do have, I better retract that a little bit. If we do get on the heavy side, 1/4 inch of ice, which is what some of the models are saying, especially on the south side and southeast side of town, and we still have those winds gusting up around 30 miles per hour, you remember that scale I showed you for the power outage scale? You're in category 2. So in theory, yeah, we could have power outages here from the weather here in Oklahoma City Metro. It shouldn't be a lot, but we could have some. Pauline says a glaze in El Reno. So if there's already glaze in El Reno, then there's going to be a glaze in Piedmont and everywhere else. So they'll have to cancel schools for that. Buses don't drive on ice either. Yeah, Ponca City's already closed for tomorrow, Deidre says. Did you say you have cameras on highways in Tulsa? Yes, Carrie. You can look up cameras all over Tulsa. Cindy's in Shawnee and hasn't had a drop. Oh, come on now. You expect me to believe that, do you? I want a live report. Because I'm going to go to Shawnee right now. I'm going to show you what Shawnee looks like. You see Shawnee? You're so infiltrated right in the middle of all that. If you're not getting a single drop, I don't know what you're taking, but reduce the dosage. Because you got freezing rain reported to your east, freezing rain reported to your north, freezing rain reported to your west. And you're 28 degrees over 19. So, yeah, you're getting some stuff. Let's see. Several wrecks on I-40 southwest of town. It's already started, huh? You know what? We could do that. Okay, and Shawnee raining now, Brandy says. All right, well, you got to tell your neighbor over there that it's raining. All right, let's go to that map then. Let's see if there's anything showing up on the cameras. You said southwest Oklahoma City. So we'll zip back. I was in Tulsa a second ago. So let's go back down here. Okay, so you see how the roads are starting to turn red. So that's your indication of some problems. So this particular traffic camera is moving pretty good. It's on the southwest side. So yeah, when you say the southwest side of town, we have to get more specifics. You did say I-40 though, so let me go to I-40. I don't know, we'll pick one out here. These cameras have not been updated. They need to update those. Let's see this one. That one's still moving along. All right. So I don't have a live camera out here. I've got these dead ones. Okay, let's go back to that other map maybe. Scrolling down here more. See a lot of red on the map. Okay, they're still moving. Anyways, this is how easy this is. This is why you can just do this at home whenever you get up in the morning or night to night. You just want to see where the trouble is. So let's see. Let's go back to this one. Any of these? Now this should be the same camera network, honestly, that I was looking at before. Here's I-44 and 240. There's like nobody on the road over here. Let's click on it. There's a little bit right there, distance. Just moving slow. So anyway, I would not want to be any of these people, just so you know. Would not want to be any of these people. At some point, you're moving fine, then all of a sudden you're not. And you never know when that's going to be. And just to have that in the back of your mind the whole time, oof, that's stressful. Canadian County, I-40 wreck. Gotcha. Okay. So, come over here. I don't have one of those live cameras, looks like over here, to click on. So, for whatever reason, almost all of Canadian County has no cameras. Well, what are you guys doing up there? Come on, man. There's somebody on the turnpike, little plow. Here's a camera outside of some plows out here, outside of Canadian County, waiting on the roads. But nothing there in the Canadian County. Okay. Maybe this map might have something. That one didn't have anything. No. Weird. Okay. This is the only one. I don't think this has been updated. Yeah, let's see. Last updated. No, it's been updated. 843. That was the last one. I can't see what heads or tails of what it is, though. Yeah, no idea. It's too dark. Anyway, they don't have any other good cameras there to show what's happening. But the rest of the metro has several at the main intersections. Traffic at I-35 is slow. Down in Moore. So Tristan, yes, icy for Yukon. Kathy, Dallas, right on the border. You got ice now forming in Fort Worth. Cindy, yeah, it is ice in Duncan. It's freezing rain is what you're getting. So that's the other thing that can be misleading. Is you think it's raining, like regular rain, and it's not. It's freezing rain. All right, let me see you guys on YouTube real quick, see if you guys had any reports. Oh, they've gone wall to wall. On the YouTube, Michael says the circus has started. They didn't even let them play the post-game interview before they cut in. So, yeah, the weather circus. The game ended. Okay, so that's what's going on. Yeah, that's funny. Anyway, I'm looking at your comments now on YouTube. So that's one of the things that I did here for you, right? Is that kind of like once you do a round robin, there's nothing more to tell you. So when I worked in TV for 12 years and you had to be on the air for hours and hours and hours to repeat the exact same thing, the idea was, well, because people tune in and out, right? Because they can't all tune in at once. But to be that repetitive and nothing has changed and it's the same old, it gets really boring when you're on the other end of that. For you, if you're new and you're tuning in, you miss the first 2 hours, it's new to you. But when you're on there and you're saying the exact same thing over and over and over and over, you're just like, ugh, can we just go to commercial or put a show on? But that's the news business, so that's why it's a little bit on the circus side of they just stay on the air forever. Because not everybody can watch at that exact moment. So, Norman is cold and wet. Oh, you're cold and wet, all right. You're 28 degrees. Dew point at 25. You're all ice. Here, I'll show you. So, Norman. Icy sidewalks and driveways and parking lots. Icy sidewalks, driveways, parking lots. Icy sidewalks, freezing rain. It says rain, but that's freezing rain. So that's where the public sometimes needs a little more education, because when they look out, they see just rain, right? They don't think anything of it. But it's not. It freezes on contact, so that's freezing rain. That's the difference. Let me see. Uh-oh. Jen says, everything was fine, doing my chores, then boom, feet in the air, slipped. Should have listened to you. Well, I hope you're okay. Let's see. Hubby confirms, driveway and sidewalk, solid sheet of ice in northwest Edmond, Logan County. Yes, I sent him out for a report. Oh my goodness. Why are you so mean? What if he slipped and fell? And then you have to like take care of him. What if he like hurt his arm or he couldn't feed himself, and so you had to spoon feed him all to get a weather report? It's not worth it. Last round for Central Oklahoma or more. Matthew, heck no, man. We got plenty of more all night long. Jack's ready for the next storm. He's out of here. He says, I'm done with this ice story. Let's move on. Off ground is freezing. Driveway and roads not frozen. West Ardmore. Okay. Gotcha. So in other words, above ground stuff's all frozen. Roads are still holding on for the time being at Ryan's location. I'm east of Shawnee, and our walkway is slick. Cindy, hubby does streets in Shawnee and left around 6 to work. Grateful for the street crews. Indeed. I wonder how Tulsa's doing. Let me check my buddy's messages, see if he put something in there. I see you watching, Jeff. I didn't get to check what you wrote because I hit the airwaves. Let's see. Yeah, the 3-kilometer NAM went almost half an inch of ice in Tulsa, and the HER was kind of in those high amounts, and so was the those CAM models because of the heavy precip trains that we talked about earlier. So yeah, there's gonna be some people that get 1/4 to half inch of ice, no problem. It's just hard to say the exact locations of that because it's kind of scattered all over. So looks like Reed's in southern Oklahoma on Facebook. All right, my boy Reed. He was smart enough to call this an ice storm. So there's 2 meteorologists that call this an ice storm. I don't know what everybody else called it, but we did. Blanchard's icing. Amber just got here. Oh no, Amber. So yeah, Lawton's still on the edge of your ice. You go too far west, like toward Altus, about halfway between you and Altus, and you're out of the woods. So you're kind of on the western fringe. So yeah, if you guys have some more reports, go ahead and send them since I'm still here. I wasn't going to sign off for a minute, but then we looked at some road conditions, etc. Same thing for you guys on YouTube if you have anything more. Let's see. Move this over so I can read it. So Jim in Mustang, we've had a little ice, raised surfaces in Mustang. Pam's ready for spring. Jeremy's in Shawnee. His porch is covered in ice. School is closed for Manford. All right, so we'll go up to look at Tulsa. So we'll cover Tulsa here. So we know the Oklahoma City Metro's got some good heavy stuff coming down and points south and even points north up to Enid. And then Tulsa had that first round that ended about, what, hour ago? And now you've got your new round coming in. So I think this is a new report here. Mixed ice pellets and snow. Let's see, 246. Yeah, that was 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. Let's see here. So you got your new round coming in on the west side of Tulsa, Sand Springs. Let's go see what your roads look like. So we'll go here on the southwest side. Let's see, we got any live cameras? Give me a live camera, Tulsa. Let's see what you got here. All right, so far, woo, you guys are just hauling. Man, somebody's trying to get home fast. Oh, he is too. Woo, man, you Oh, that's all fun and games till that minute on that clock runs out. I hope you guys are near home. Anyway, so there's Tulsa. So the roads look like they're kind of have that sheen to them, wet. So obviously they're treated in these areas because these cameras are on the bridge, intersections. But it'll be a good thing to watch for conditions. And then some of these other cameras. It's north of downtown. All right. And of course some photos out here. I don't know how good these are going to be. Yeah, sometimes these cameras don't show very well at dark. Some of them do because they'll have like the headlights from the road crews. And then other times it's just dark and you can't even tell what's going on. You have to wait till daylight. So these little camera icons, sometimes that's what you have to deal with. Let me look up here. So these roadways are in the orange, which means slow. So up here in Oklahoma, or Tulsa, they haven't changed them over colors yet. And obviously, we just saw some dudes hauling, so that makes sense because they haven't done that. See, here's some of the cameras I was talking about where they're dark. And these are all the crews. So I'll blow this one up for you if it'll do it. Yeah. So you can see the front of his grill. So he's got some big lights on his truck. So you can really see what he's seeing. So I like at nighttime. I like to see this kind of a setup because now you can actually see the road better, and you can see what they're seeing. But there's a lot of them out there. Look at all these guys out here ready to work the roads for you. So it's good news. It's a good sign. All right, Piedmont schools just closed. Brandy just said so. Pottawatomie County, Cali says, is reporting slick roads. Slick porches in Ada. Okay, put this up. You guys definitely have cold stuff down there. There's Ada, icy roads, temperature of 28. Let's go down south. There's Ardmore, 28 degrees. Denton, 30. 32, Gainesville. Denton's 34 over 27. So your wet bulb is right around 30, 31 degrees. Fort Worth, 34 over 28. Let's see. 34 over 28. 36 over 28. Man, it's just right on the cusp. There is a little report of freezing rain here in Dallas. Looks like 36 over 21. 36 over 27. 36 over 25. Interesting. So Dallas may get a light glaze of ice because your dew points are so much lower that you have a chance to wet bulb better during the heavier precip. But it's dry, so you're not really cooling those temperatures down much yet to the wet bulb. But it'll be interesting to see what happens down here. Cannon says slick and more. Eleanor, you're welcome. Thanks for telling all your friends and family. Ashley getting slick in Elgin. Yeah, Edmund's definitely slick. Jessica. Yeah, I don't know about the airport. Obviously, don't ask me that. They'll keep trying to get planes out until they can't, and at some point, if they can't keep up with the weather, they either delayed or flights canceled, one or the other, and you wait. But temperature's now all into the 20s. Let's see, what's my temperature now? I'm at 29.8, so I've dropped 2 degrees since the precipitation started. My dew point's up to 24, so I'm 29, well, close to 30 over 24. Now my dew point's now 25. All right, so you see how the dew point keeps going up, and the temperature goes down a little. And what's funny is the dew point always goes up faster than the dew point, or than the temperature drops. So temperature drops slower, dew point goes up faster. Cloudy skies and freezing rain currently. Very icy in Midwest City. Highway 152 at I-44 is closed due to collision. Well, that's not good. I wonder if we have a camera in that area. Not here. We've got one here. It's close. Very slick in Guthrie. Alright, so in this particular case, we don't have a whole lot of traffic. They're pretty spaced out. Still moving though. Pretty good clip. Oh man, I really like these cameras. Look at that, you can go full screen. That makes it way easy to see what's going on. I like this little interface. So again, this is on my website, aarontuttleweather.com. You can also get it in my weather app. Starting to get slick in Sand Springs. Yeah, you guys have that new round of rainfall moving in. So that's going to give you a good coating. See out here in Manford. So this is now stretching from you into downtown Tulsa as we speak. So that's your new wave. Let's see, a new report there, freezing drizzle. Down here in Henrietta, freezing rain. Okmulgee, there's Eufaula. Where'd the temperature go for Eufaula? It disappeared on us. McAllister's at 30. 20s. So Lawton right now, you don't have anything. There's a little light stuff to your southwest that'll come overhead, but it's nothing heavy at all. But at this point in time, anything is going to cause a problem, just so you know. Up here in northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, guys are still getting a little bit of light action moving through. Not much out here in northwestern Oklahoma. Woodward, what do you guys? 34 over 27. And then northeast Oklahoma to Kansas. A little bit of light stuff here. 32 over 9. Whoa, that's a low dew point. Freezing rain being reported. Freezing rain. Freezing rain. And southwest Missouri getting some action. And western Arkansas getting some light stuff through. So neighborhoods in northwest Oklahoma City is slick, but I-35 south to downtown was in good shape, says Matt Sanders. Just rain in Tecumseh, Geneva. Well, trust me, it's not just rain. It's freezing rain. Just misleading. How much rain sleet expected in the metro? 1/4 of an inch. Up to 1/4 of an inch right now in the data. OSU has canceled classes tomorrow. Very slick and little old cement. Yes, Eleanor, a lot more coming tonight. A lot of light stuff. This is a really good heavy round, and we do have another moderate round, but otherwise it's a lot of just light stuff. Just slowly adds to it. Enid, yes, you guys are getting some action. I can see some of you tuned in really late. That's okay. We've been doing round robin anyway. So there's Enid. Your temperature is 32 over 21, so you'll be no problem wet bulbing down and getting ice in your area. Now, so it depends. Sometimes if you haven't had the precipitation at all yet and you have that first wave, a lot of it kind of evaporates and the second wave gets better and the second wave after that gets better. So, but you're not ever supposed to expect a whole lot up here anyway. You're on the very fringe of the ice, so you're only going to get enough to cause a slippery bridges, overpasses, and some of the roadways. That's all you're going to have up there. It's not anything more than that. Whereas in Oklahoma City, we've got a 1/4 of an inch potential, which in theory with the wind could lead to a few power outages. Yeah, Don, pretty sure this is considered an ice storm. Slicker than snot and multiple wrecks. That's what that is. Let's see. Let's go. Let me let me check the latest warnings and advisories just to see if anything's changed. Where am I? Oh, it did change. National Weather Service finally put something in Texas. The northern counties are under a winter weather advisory. Now, this is where I get very competitively upset because I'm like, you guys have known this and you're just now doing it? You wait till it already actually happens? It's your job to be first and accurate and long before an event starts, and get plenty of time to prepare, and you don't do it until after it's already started. See, that's where I have the competitive nature in me going, do a better job, And I just shake my head. But, I like the guys, all of them. I'm cool with them. I mean, we're all Mets, but that just irks me because on a public, communication point, that's a failure. I mean, you got to be way earlier than that. You got to be ahead of the curve. So that's a little late in my opinion. But anyway, it has expanded to include southern and eastern Kansas, which is a little bit of a change as well. And this did back up a little bit to cover more of Oklahoma and a little bit more here of southeastern or western Arkansas, I should say. So they kind of just expanded the general overall, expect some form of light icing in this area, whereas this is the most concentrated area of icing. And again, I don't know what's going on with southern Missouri. They should have already had some type of warning out here, and they're waiting till the last minute to trigger something. And I think that's a disservice. But again, I don't make the rules up there. They do their own thing, just like I do my own thing. They don't tell me what to do. I don't tell them what to do. At the end of the day, we're doing the same job, warning people. All right, so Kim, sheet of ice on the sidewalk in Choctaw. Okay. Jen, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not forecasting. You wait for the event to happen. You're not even nowcasting. Nowcasting is right as it's occurring and just as it's about to occur. That's nowcasting. Hindsight casting is a new one. Post event casting. I'm not sure what we're going to call that other one. How much for Southwest OKC? So anywhere from 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch is what the forecast calls for. Let's just take a look. I know a lot of you are new here. You missed all the other data points we looked at for ice totals and accumulations. So let's just go back and look at what some of the newer data had said. Which map was mine? We'll try this one. Okay. I'm going to pull up the Canadian too after I look at this. Okay. So this was the high resolution NAM. We'll use this as an example. All right. So there's 3,500. It's almost 4/10 of an inch of ice in Tulsa. So if you're wondering, is that ice storm warning criteria? You bet your bottom dollar. You see how these streaks kind of show up in the data? So it's very hard to pinpoint exact placement of these streaks because they could be here, here, here. All you know is they're going to be in this general area. And in those streaks is where you get your 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice. There's a little hot spot down here in the model data, close to Ardmore, between Pauls Valley, Paoli area. That's, up around 6/10. Mountain-induced. Little hot spot here near Lawton. Otherwise, in Oklahoma City, anywhere from 1/10 on the northwest side, a few hundreds to Piedmont, down 1/4 of an inch on the south side. And then, of course, you do have measurable stuff up here, just not very measurable, less than 1/10 of an inch, but enough to cause problems. So that was the high resolution NAM. The HER also kind of shows you these streaks, kind of give you an idea that it'll be kind of feast and famine. It'll be hard to do, but either side of this line, you may not have much, and then right along the line you do. If we go to expanded view, because I have to, or wait, maybe I can do this. Let's try this. What shows me? No, it doesn't. Okay, we'll go to the expanded view on the other ones. Where was my big picture? We'll just do this one. I think I lost it earlier. So you can see how the ice continues down here just around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, northwest, and then down here through cut Arkansas basically in half, and then southern Missouri, southeastern Kansas. So these are all measurable ice accumulations. Obviously, the heaviest corridor you can see in the darker colors of where that proximity is. And I wanted to show you some of our other high-resolution models that we use for severe weather forecasting, only because they have a convective nature to it, and so I want to see how they handle training events in this flow, and how they kind of do the strips of heavy icing around. And these amounts pretty significant. I mean, it's 4/10 to 1/2 an inch of ice in Tulsa. Same thing down here south, and here and here and here. McAllister, Ada, on up to Missouri. So That's an example. I'm going to switch here and do all the models. There's another one there, and it's out to lunch. Here's one, kind of has an idea. Likes that heavy track in that same favorite area we've talked about for the last couple of days. Here and here as well. Although it goes gangbusters in Dallas. Man, that's half an inch of ice. So it's interesting. At first, the models had focused on Tarrant County and this little area here, and they left Dallas County out of it. Now they flip because temperatures out here are warming up, and here the dew points are still very low. Therefore, you have the opportunity for more ice. So they kind of flipped between Dallas and Fort Worth in the data. But regardless, they still have measurable and significant icing down there. All right, so there's the HER, GFS. The Canadian is in. So is this the newest Canadian? I'm going to make sure I got the newest Canadian. Okay. And they're really liking this new stuff down here, but the temperatures were supposed to moderate down there. So this must be a new change. I haven't investigated this yet. This is all just coming in, so I haven't had a chance to look. But it does have this same look, same stretch, although it just has a lot less on the northwest side than some of the other models do. There's Tulsa, though, on the south side of half an inch, north side or downtown 3/10. So Tulsa's right in the thick of it. And Oklahoma City, depending on which model you go, is either on the lighter side or the heavier side. For example, it's got Norman here at about 1/4 of an inch, but Oklahoma City, 1300s. Let's see, the RAP model, which is a short-term model. It kind of jives with the Canadian. See if I go here to here. See the take-home? All right, and there's the NAM, which is a little bit more on the northwest track than the others for that heavy stuff. Let's see what else. That one's more east. That one's in the middle. Okay. All right, so there you go. That's the latest data. So hasn't changed. Widespread, 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice across the state. Exception to the rule is way out west, northwest, southwest. Outside of that, we're all in the same boat. And then as far as the heavy stuff goes, like I said, models seem to favor. Let's draw this. So models seem to like something like this. And then in this zone is your .25 to half inch of ice. So it doesn't mean everybody's going to get a half an inch in here. It could mean like those little streaks I showed you. It's a very thin few areas get half an inch. But when you do go between the 1/4 to the half, your probability of power outages do go up. So depending on which model you believe, you nudge this more into Tulsa. So then that means you extend this, like so. And I got no problem with that. So earlier, I think yesterday, today, I think I'd liked 1/4 of an inch for Tulsa and Oklahoma City. And I'm still fine with that. We can look at the new data in the vertical. So Edmond, Oklahoma City schools are virtual tomorrow. You mean the kids still got to go to school, but Zooming it? Oh, lame. That's okay. I got to be virtual too. 1/4 inch of ice for Crescent. What about Tulsa? I just talked to you. We'll look at the data here in a second. Vertical. And Mid-Del City just called it remote day for tomorrow. Okay, so let's do some vertical stuff. I was gonna eat dinner, and we got carried away. So I'm gonna get this stuff. All right, so let that come in. While that's doing that, checking you guys up here, northern Oklahoma again. So Tulsa, you're getting that new rainfall continue to slowly move in your county. Back out here to Stillwater, we've got some reports. Mixed freezing rain and ice freezing rain, freezing rain, freezing rain, and rain. So one of these things is not like the other. Can you tell me which one? That one says freezing rain. That one says rain. That one says freezing rain. So who made this report? Who are you? Down here south, let's go back to Metro. We've got here these little triangles. Icy sidewalks and driveways coming up in the Piedmont area. In Bethany. Nope, the village. So it's just east of Piedmont. You do have a little report over here, some freezing rain. Otherwise, slick as snot is what those things say. East side also, freezing rain. Choctaw, near Valley Brooks, slick as snot. Out here in Mustang, icy sidewalks, freezing rain. Down here more icy sidewalks. And of course down in Norman, all icy sidewalks. All right, let's go look at my data. I'm gonna load this other one while we look at that one. Okay. Let's start with Tulsa. Wait a minute, 6 a.m.? What time is it? 9:30? It's not in yet? Oh. 5 a.m. Are you sure about this? All right, let's go to the NAM. 6 a.m.? What? Was it 9:29? This data should have been by now. Why you gotta be like that? The wrap. Oh, this is old. What is going on here? Am I getting punked? Yeah, hold that thought on this. All right. Usually it's at 9:30. So this data usually is in by now, like right about now. So maybe they're having some server problems. Because this data is coming in super slow. It should have already been done. But we'll look at it. It'll be the HER for Oklahoma City. Just so I can look at something. Yeah, there's some serious problems going on here. Oh, it's like watching grass grow in the wintertime. Alright, while we wait for that nonsense. Just now joining me, this is our next wave moving through. Clipping southern and eastern Kansas, now moving into Missouri, and now moving into Arkansas. Otherwise, the body of it is about to come to an end on the back end here for the I-35 corridor for Oklahoma City, south down to Dallas, which I see some new reports down here. Let's see, rain, icy sidewalks and driveways, freezing rain, and freezing rain. All right, and we did see something in North Dallas also earlier. One of these reports came in. This is all around the McKinney area. All right. Down after you go past this, the next wave, the big wave, you get a little bit of a break. I mean, there's still pockets here that's showing up. So I mean, you're still going to have a kind of a blossoming of precipitation, but the next huge big wave is down here. So this is where it's going to come in from, and that's going to quickly make its way northward through western and north Texas over the next few hours, and then that'll be pressing over across the border for Oklahoma for the remainder of the night into tomorrow morning, and that'll be our part of our big final wave. But they'll still have little other waves prior to. That's a patchy, or I say patchy, it's probably widespread freezing drizzle, some very light freezing rain, showers, that kind of deal. OKC, public schools, no school tomorrow. Evan says virtual is stupid. All K County schools are closed tomorrow. Mustang went remote. Icy driveway in Yukon. Lanny, Moore just called for virtual. Paul says, do I need to call in? Yes, you do. Tony wants to know, how do I get stars? It's at the bottom. There's a little star icon you can click on your phone. Now on the computer, I don't know how that works, but on the phone you can do it. Anyway, so let me go back to, let's see what my data problem is. I'm having a problem. I'm going to exit all this. Done. There. Maybe I just need a reboot. When in doubt, did you reboot your computer? Did you Control-Alt-Delete? So up here in northern Oklahoma, Ponca City, you guys now have something reported. School and buses closings. Also here in southeastern Kansas, Coffeyville. Otherwise, plenty of little freezing rain reports. So there's that back edge here. Running north and south. Kingfisher, Enid, back down to Rush Springs, Chickasha, Comanche. You have some light stuff down here southwest that'll filter in behind it, but this big wave, the back end, is moving through. Piedmont closed. West, thank you. Okay, let me start my model maker again. Let me see if I can't make it work the second time around. Alright, well that's trucking along. Let me check the advisories. Make sure they didn't change. And check these. These are ground temperatures. This is why we have a problem on a roadway so easily, because we're running right out about the freezing point in many of the roads here across a good chunk of Oklahoma, the exception down here in the south. I'm actually surprised at how warm these temperatures are down here. Huh. It's interesting. I don't think they were this warm earlier. All right. So the winter storm warning is in pink, and there's your ice storm warning as well. We can show you that to you on this map. That way you can see some counties and cities. I'll turn this radar off and let that load in theory. All right, so in the green is our winter weather advisory. Out here in this color is an ice storm warning, and this color is a winter storm warning, and out here in the west is a freezing fog advisory. So if you travel out in this area of the panhandle of Texas, you have a freezing fog advisory, which isn't good either. Same outcome, icy roadways, even though it's not heavy precipitation. A glaze of 1/100 of an inch is really what all that is. That's all it takes. All right, so then the winter storm warning is Pauls Valley to Ardmore to Marietta, stretching out toward Durant, Medill, Tishomingo, Colgate, Atoka, McAllister, Allen, Holdenville, Wetumpka, Quentin, Wilburton, north from there to Muskogee, Chakota, Tahlequah, just south of Tulsa for Okmulgee. And then there's your ice storm warning. So that's eastern Oklahoma. There's Sallisaw. Then you got Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Clarksville, Paris, Russellville. And that's where they're expecting between a quarter to half inch, or was it above? Yeah, it was a quarter to half inch of ice accumulations in this area. Whereas all of this area, they were expecting up to or slightly over a quarter of an inch of ice. And then in this area here was basically a tenth to as much as a quarter, which includes Oklahoma City and Tulsa. I like the heavier side, especially for Tulsa. In Oklahoma City, you could probably split it in difference. You can do like a tenth northwest side and a quarter southeast side. So Daryl says we've had an inch of ice in Noble. Is Enid going to be slick? Yeah, if you're getting precip, you're going to be slick. Since we just had a discussion over ice amount, I'm going to give you a little tip on what to do. Where's my ice graphic? Where'd my ice graphic go? Oh, right here. My computer's dogging it. It's angry at me. Got a lot of stuff loaded on this thing. All right, how do you measure ice? It says measuring ice can be tricky. Find a tree, shrub, or branch. Use a tape measure or ruler to measure the ice on the top and bottom of a branch, not including the branch. Since water usually drips, thickness is typically greater on the bottom side than the top side. So what you have to do is you add the two measurements and then divide by 2. So if this is your branch, you're going to cross section, and the top part is 1/4 inch on top, bottom is 3/4 inch. You add the 2 together. In this case, it would be 1 inch. Then you divide by 2. That gives you a 1/2 inch of ice. So your total ice accumulation is 1/2 inch. Then you take that and you tag the National Weather Service, their Facebook page, or on Twitter, or you can send them an old-fashioned email at sr-oun.spotter.noaa.gov. But in social media world is probably the easiest, fastest way to do it. So I would do that. And then that way they'll take your report, and then they'll add it to a map, and then they'll share it with the rest of us. And then we can start to see how much ice has fallen, and then that will help them as to whether or not they need to change it to an ice storm warning, for example. Because if it obviously exceeds their criteria and they don't have it as that, that's a problem. By definition, by procedure, they would have to issue an ice storm warning. But anyway, so that helps out with them and what's happening from the sky versus what's happening on model trend data and radar trend. So anyway, that ice amount that Daryl said was from, where were you from? Noble. Gotcha. South side of town. So anyway, so let me turn this off and I'll put the radar back on. Now you can see here in the south side, we don't have much longer, and this back end of this rain is going to be coming out, moving away. So that's the difference there. But if you look down here in Noble, there's no reports immediately in the town. Once you go in the north of you do have the freezing rain reports and the slick as snot reports for pretty much all of Norman. But that's a good report. Make sure you tell the Weather Service. I do it. I'm a little busy. I'm preoccupied right now. All right, let me go get my data again. Let me see. All that came in. Okay. Let me go pull in this again. Let's try this again. It's still moving pretty slow. All right, well, let's see if this came in anyways. 6 p.m. Good. Okay. So I don't know what was going on earlier. I don't know what the problem was. Maybe it's had to kill the program restarted. Okay, so we're going to look at Oklahoma City first. Let me do this. Okay, this particular model has amounts of 2/10. Or is that 2800s? What was that? No, 2/10. So just about 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulations in the high-resolution NAM model for this point forecast for Oklahoma City. So this little line here is the total. If you look across the screen, there's your 0.2 right here. So it goes up. All right, so that's Oklahoma City. So that's how much ice that it thinks, and then it's going to rain after that another 1/2 an inch of rain. So man, it is such a good thing that we're warming up just in time. Could you imagine? So you'd go for your 1/4 inch overnight, and then you would add another 1/2 an inch. That'd be 7,500. That'd be 3/4 of an inch of ice. So you're getting out of the mild ice storm to a major ice storm, catastrophic ice storm if that were to happen, along with those winds gusting to 30. You would not want that. So, woof, man, you know how close that is? That's close to pandemonium. All right, let's go to Tulsa. Let's see what it does with the guys. All right, now it's a lot more bullish. Look at all these little red columns. You add them all up through noon Monday, 1/2 an inch of ice. Wow. Now, main reason it's doing it, ridiculous amounts of omega, for one, in all the layers of moisture in the atmosphere. So it gives you a lot more precipitation as a result than Oklahoma City. And like I said, half an inch of ice. And I went conservative. I want a quarter of an inch of ice. And I may bust. This may half an inch is, you don't want that in Tulsa, man. That's a problem. After that, from noon to the afternoon in northeast Oklahoma in the Tulsa area, that's another half inch of rainfall after that. So again, just be glad we are getting above freezing come lunchtime, because you'd be looking at a full 1 inch of ice during that period. That would shut that city down. That's bad news. So good news is latter half's all wet, so it'll all melt, but you do get quite a bit overnight. So a quarter of an inch of ice for Tulsa is an easy call based on the data. All right, let's go to DFW. Now this model is saying, this is for the airport, so I could probably pick a spot in Dallas County, and it might be cold enough to where this is all red, but it does have, through tomorrow morning, at least 1/10 of an inch of precipitation, and then it gets heavier after that. So it's not very bullish on the freezing rain potential, but that's because it keeps the temperatures, which this little line right here, right at 34, 33 degrees. So that was a close call. Anyways, that's the high resolution NAM. It's lower resolution brother. Same idea, a lot more precip, about 2/10, but also keeps it above for DFW. In Tulsa, it goes 3/10 versus the half an inch. And Oklahoma City, it goes 2/10. So they both went 2/10 for us here in Oklahoma City. All right, let's look at the HER. The HER went 1/10, 1200ths on the light side, Oklahoma City. In Tulsa, it went a quarter of an inch through tomorrow morning. And yeah, and that's it. And no, the Dallas-Fort Worth, I think it's just a cold rain down there anyways. Actually, they didn't even give them any rain at all. This model is so silly. According to this thing, it's not even raining in Dallas at all right now. So we'll just throw that away. Okay, then what do we have? Oh, let's try this one. No, that's old data. Okay, let's see what else we got. I think I did the wrap earlier. Yeah, I did the wrap earlier. Okay. For Tulsa, it went 3/10, 3400ths of an inch of ice. Tulsa, it went 1500ths, or excuse me, Oklahoma City, 1500ths of an inch of ice. I don't know why I'm going to bother looking at this, but I'll look at the GFS for fun. Oklahoma City 1/10, or 1200ths. And Tulsa, it went 3/10. Surprise, surprise. That gives a lot of credit to the higher amounts if the GFS is going 3/10. All right, let's go to the SREF. This is going to be all over the place. So this is a high resolution ensemble run where there's a lot of different members pushed in different directions. So I'm going to just put the ensemble map or button on here so we can just look overlay. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. All right, so the averaged out is roughly along this red line here for Tulsa, which is 2/10. Some are grouped down here lower to 1/10, and others are grouped up here higher as much as 4/10. But they seem to kind of want to favor the middle of the road, which is about a quarter of an inch. That's for Tulsa. So I got no problem with that. And then Oklahoma City, same idea. Average one is roughly about 1500ths, although there's some as high as 3500ths, and there's some as low as 500ths. I like the 1500ths as a minimum, but like I said, it's going to differ between the northwest side of town and the southeast side. And then Dallas, I'm pretty sure it's just going to keep them rain. There's only one in here, I think, that calls them ice. Let's see. Let's turn that off and find it. Oh, there it was. So they actually produced some ice down there, 1/4 inch in Dallas. Oh, there's another one. So there's 2. It's not very good odds, by the way. That's also 1/4 inch. The rest of them just cold rain. That's the way this data has looked all week for Dallas. Half of them say rain, half of them say ice. At the end of the day, it's a mix. Come back down here. You got temperature still holding in the mid-30s, but the dew points are slowly coming up, 36/21, as that precipitation falls. But if you go north of Dallas, we had icy covered roadways here south of Frisco, north side of Plano, McKinney, up to freezing rain, etc. So it's right knocking at the door. All right, so let's see. So that was the vertical view. We looked at just some different model data for the 3 different cities that we had on here, just to see what they said. Satellite viewpoint shows this wave moving through, pushing off to the northeast now for the eastern half of the state. And you can see the next wave now starting to really lighten up. So this is our next bout of upper lift in the atmosphere. It's going to squeeze out precipitation. And this dead zone here, watch, if you look closely, you'll see new development. See how this kind of starts to close up? You get more white on the map. So we're still going to have more light precipitation before we start to get this big main wave come in. It's a long wave too, long-winded. But we're going to have light stuff there that's going to kind of continue. So once this heavy wave moves off currently, we still have more to come. And winds are still pretty strong, gusting up to around 20 to 30 miles per hour, the west side of the metro, into the teens on the east side, and little pockets here in Oklahoma. So we don't want those winds too strong. That becomes a problem. And if you didn't see that earlier, this is why. So let's say we've got 1/4 inch of ice in Oklahoma City, and you have a wind gusting between 25 and 35 miles per hour. That would, if we're on the higher end, in other words, if we're on the 1/4, then we're on the wind speeds over 30, then that would cause some scattered utility interruptions, meaning power outages, typically lasting about 12 to 24 hours. Roads and travel conditions will be extremely hazardous due to ice accumulations. So most of the state is going to be in this category of 2 on the ice damage index, because we'll go up to 1/2 inch of ice in some locations. But in those areas, the winds won't be as strong as they are like in central Oklahoma. So that kind of keeps us in this area. For us to get into the 3, you would have to have amounts up around more than 1/2 inch with wind speed still up around 20 to 25. And that's going to be hard to do. So we'll probably still stick right here comfortably in the 2 category for most people that are hit with the higher accumulations. There'll be plenty of people in the 0 and 1 category that, you know, it's icy roads and that's all they have to deal with. So consider yourself lucky if you do have that situation. All right, Tulsa is getting some now. Okay, I-40 is a sheet of ice. Those graphics are something that my kid painted. That's right. Is there a chance for the freeze in February for Texas? I'm sure. I haven't looked anything beyond today. Driveway in Bethany is frozen. Okay. Illinois, yep. Oh yeah, Weather Service loves getting reports. And believe it or not, that is the hardest thing to get. It's just weird that way. We are iced over in the backyard from Mrs. Tuttle. What? Hey, where's my correspondent? Where's my live correspondent? I'm going to put you in on the live video feed. Highway's very slick south of Ada. We can look at the, I haven't looked at that in a while. Let's go do that, shall we? Let's go to this guy here. I was on I-40 about 30 minutes ago, and cars and semis were hitting each other. Very slick. Uh-oh. Brooke, that's not good. Now, we were watching those live video feeds. You remember how fast those people were going? I was like, man, y'all are crazy. Okay, so let's see here. Now, let's see how the colors are turning orange. Ooh, there's a red one down here in Norman. Oh, you're not moving anywhere down here. It's out the main street. No picture. I love it when they have no picture. All right, let's do a video. Well, they're still cruising down here. Look at this. So when I see this, I sit here and I think, do they think it's just rain? Like it's just wet? Is that what they think? Do they know we're below freezing? First question. Do they know that it's ice? Second question. And do they know the only reason why they're able to do this right now is because the roads have been treated probably where they're going? Does any of that dawn on them where they're hauling 50, 60 miles an hour like normal? And then all of a sudden, they hit that one spot that wasn't treated, or that accumulated just a little too much in the last few minutes. And then, phew, that's it. Their life changed forever. So anytime I see this kind of stuff, I'm always curious about that. And then I think, are they from out of town? Do they not watch the weather? Are they watching the wrong weather sources? Did they watch people who told them it's not going to be an ice storm? It's just a cold rain. And ice isn't going to happen. Do they watch people like that? If they do, this is how they drive. So anytime I see that, I ask those questions. I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, what can you do? My job is to warn you, tell you to tell as many people as you can. And then when this stuff happens, everybody wonders why there's still so many wrecks on the roads. Well, you're looking at it. I don't get it. Anyway, so that was around Moore in 35. Just go to Airport Road in 44. Is that flashing lights? Yeah, looks like some flashing lights. Bunch of flashing lights on this one. So obviously he's got some accidents. Now these guys, look how slow they're moving. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's how it should be. Everybody should be like moving slow like this. Again, you can find this on my website, aarontutleweather.com. We're going to go to the east side. Let's go over here. Well, I can barely see anything with this one. It's iced over. But there's some traffic there moving slow. Let's try his brother over here next door. Traffic moving slow here. This guy's hauling. This guy's going slow. Now, it could also be these people are trying to hurry to get home, right? They're thinking, well, maybe I can get home before these all turn into a sheet of ice. So that could be another thought. You see how many options that there are when I ask those questions? And you never know. Everybody's going to be unique. Have their own reasons. You want to see Tulsa? All right, Gary. Maggie, good. I'm glad to hear it. So Laney, yes. So freezing rain is rain that freezes on contact. That is correct. Just a view there. All right, so let's go to Tulsa. And I had that graphic up earlier. Do I still have it? No. Let me show you. Weather Service put this out earlier this week. I thought it was really good. I've got several of these that I save and use over the years. But I like this one. It's pretty simplified. And then I'll look at this. We'll go to Tulsa, Gary. So freezing rain is liquid precipitation that freezes on contact when the cold surfaces as it enters a shallow layer of temperatures at or below 32 degrees near the surface. This creates a coating of ice on roads, walkways, trees, and power lines. So it starts out as snow, super cool drops, ice crystals, all kinds of stuff up here. Falls down into this warm layer around 5,000 feet above our heads, and it melts the snow into raindrops as normal. And then it falls into this area of cold air about 1,000 feet thick, and it doesn't have enough time to refreeze in the air because there's a lot of heat within a raindrop. So then what happens is, as it splashes on the trees and the rooftops and the ground and the roads and bridges, it all turns into immediate ice. So that's how you get freezing rain. That was the one thing I didn't look at earlier. Let me go do a little meteorology. Hold that thought. And then we'll go to Tulsa. All right, I just need to see something real quick. Yeah, so we're looking at 850, 900, yeah, about 925 millibars deep. So this is the depth of the Arctic air is from this point to obviously the surface where we breathe. So between these two layers in the atmosphere. So it's very, very shallow, very thin. So this represents the air that we get to melt the raindrop through, this long distance here, and we have this very short distance to refreeze. And that short distance is too short versus this long distance. So we don't have enough time to turn this back over to something frozen. So it falls as rain and then just splash freezes on contact on the ground. Anyway, that's the Norman sounding from earlier this evening. Okay, so let's go to Tulsa. So let me go back to my road map. Where was that? Here. Okay. Ooh, looks like I-40 out east is bad news bears. No camera. Looks like a lot of these cameras are either freezing up or going offline because they were working at one point. But anyway, you can see anytime a highway's turn red, if you ever use Google Maps or whatever, you know what that means. There's a lot of them here, it looks like, now over central Oklahoma, up north, south, and east. All right, so Tulsa, you guys are still mostly green. West side of town, though, you're starting to pick up some oranges. And on the north side of town, what is up with these cameras? There's one there. Let me see. There's a bunch of these cameras that are working downtown. Let me see if I can get the interchange here. Let's try this one. So they're moving still at a pretty good clip here in Tulsa. But you haven't really had that next wave completely hit you yet. It's still slowly working its way through the city. So as that kind of continues to infiltrate, all that's going to change. Your traffic won't be moving as fast. Let me see if the roadways are colored now. Yeah, they are. So there's a lot more orange out here to represent travel problems. Like down here in Chickasha, for example, there's some more snow plows. Road crews down here working. It's just a guy where you can see his lights. He's on the street, ready to do some work. Anyway, the oranges mean slow go, and that extends up north by 35 to Ponca City. Looks like things are starting to go downhill in your area. And like I mentioned, out east on 40, we saw that changing. Here's some down here in Ada. These guys are all Colgate, getting covered southeast of Ada there. And up here in Tulsa, let's go. You haven't quite changed colors yet, but you will as this new wave comes in. Anyway, again, this is on my website, aarontuttleweather.com, or my free weather app, AT's Weather to Go, Apple, Google Play. Let's go back up here in Oklahoma. So there you go, Tulsa. And you're just now getting in that heavy band, just now coming in from southwest to northeast. So it's just now currently moving through. So that means your roads will deteriorate here soon. You're 28 degrees over 16. So you're obviously plenty cold. Muskogee reporting, slick iceways. Let's try that again. Icy sidewalks and driveways. Not a whole lot of reports in here, but rest assured, it's heavy freezing rain. All right. The back edge, like we said, is heavy stuff. Is on I-35. coming to an end. But as we also talked about, you do have more light stuff developing. That's going to continue to kind of fill in off and on. So this is kind of like the first, looks like a regeneration beginning to take shape. And then we got some new echoes all out in here that are kind of starting to pop back up. And then the main show is way down here, southern Texas. That'll take a few hours to get into position. So we'll have this light to moderate stuff kind of scattered about until that final wave comes through. So overnight tonight, that's kind of what it'll be like. Putnam City's closed. Driveway, sidewalks in East Edmond is a skating rink. I-35. Cody, any way for me to get a live sounding on air temps and dew point to look at wet bulb? I-35 northbound completely blocked between River Bridge and Main Street due to collisions. Janice. That's no good. Is there cameras in Owasso? Well, I hope so. So Cody, I don't know, what are you asking? Because I just looked at the forecast. I just looked at the sounding from Norman. Are you wanting to pick a certain spot? Because you have to do model soundings. There's only just a few real soundings that happen. Everything else is interpolated. So I guess I have to understand what you're asking. Driveway is super slick in Norman. Yukon is a skating rink. What am I at? 29.7, so I'm holding in the 20s. My dew point is coming up a little. I'm now at 26 degrees. So BL says, Enid is completely dry in our roads and no precip. So you still have not saturated yet. You had that little wave move through. So put this in motion. Watch. So you got nothing out of that. That's what you're telling me? Not a thing. Nothing. All this evaporated for hitting the ground. If that's the case, woo, you are a lucky man. Because you don't want it. The dog just ran outside and slid across the porch in Tuttle. Oh my goodness. Well, that's good to hear though that you're dry up there. But if you notice, if you go to I-35 corridor, it obviously somehow gained from your dryness level. Let's see here. You were at 32 over 19, and now you're at 32 over 27. Wow. So you spent all this moisture just moistening up the atmosphere rather than actually hitting the ground. So you brought your dew point up from 19 to 27. You see how that works? Look at 755 to 855 to 955. You went from a dew point of 19 to 21 to 25 to 27, and that temperature did not budge. Your dew point relative humidity goes up to 80%. But somehow you got out of that without anything at all. Interesting. All right. Well, that's moving away from you. You got more coming, and the problem is if you do get anything more after this point, you've saturated yourself pretty good. So any other waves you do get, you should get something to stick or show up. It won't be heavy, but it will be enough. Ponca City is iced over, says Lindsay. Could you show Northeast Oklahoma? You bet. The wind is going to be cranking 30 miles per hour in that area between 4 and 7. So Abigail wants to know about the dew point. Because I know it's funny because you guys usually never hear about dew points. The only time you hear about a dew point is severe weather season. We're talking about tornadoes, because I like to see dew point values in the 70s for tornadoes. They can happen with dew points in the 60s, but it's not as easy. There's other issues that come into play, and you rarely ever see them in the 50s. It's a freak event. It's some other process that happens. So there is typically 90% probably of tornadoes usually happen with dew points in the 70s. That's a really good, thick, juicy moisture. We're on the opposite end of that. We got dew points sometimes the negative numbers in the wintertime. The more negative, the denser and drier and stronger and colder the Arctic air mass is. It's got no moisture. So that's the dew point value from one end of the spectrum to the other. So when it comes to winter weather and winter weather forecasting, you have to pay a lot of attention to the dew point. So the dew point is just the temperature required for complete saturation in the atmosphere. So it's just basically a measure of moisture. It's a raw measure. We're used to saying humidity. The only thing humidity is a calculation between the temperature and the dew point. Nobody ever talks about dew point. It's like the unsung hero. So I tell you, 60% humidity out there or 80% humidity. Those you're familiar with, right? You're not familiar with dew points. I get it. So, but for forecasting and meteorology purposes, I care less about the humidity. I need to know the dew point. So in this particular case, we know that the dew point is the bottom number at which the temperature can fall to. It can't fall below the dew point. It's the floor. Now, what we're watching for is here, in fact, let me do this. I'll just show you. I'll put this in an animation. You can see what happens. So I'm going to switch this over from temperatures to dew points. All right. You're going to see the color coded for the lower numbers, single digits, and kind of go up into the blues for the 30s. So let's play this. So as this rain moves through, watch how these dew points climb. 13, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 27. So we're moistening up the atmosphere. So all this rain, a lot of it is being used or wasted just to moisten up the lower atmosphere we live and breathe. So it's important for that. So what happens is we bring the dew point temperature up, but we're also cooling the atmosphere at the same time, so we bring the temperature down. And the temperature doesn't fall as fast as the dew point climbs. So what happens is that we always say to make it easy to meet in the middle. Technically, it's like a 60-40 or a 75-25 split. Regardless, dew point comes up, and then the temperature comes down, then they meet. And now you have complete saturation in the atmosphere. So, what would be called 100% humidity. So when I want to find out where ice is potentially available, I just need to know where the dew point is going to stay below 32 degrees. As long as it's below 32 degrees and you've got precipitation, you're going to have ice. Or, if there's another weather pattern, it may be snow or sleet or whatever. But in this particular case, we're talking about ice. So that's how dew point is being used. So hopefully that makes sense. You're also seeing some flurries in Newcastle, along with the rain. Well, that's crazy. Elevated surfaces like tables and chairs. Those are the first thing you see, the ice accumulation, by the way. Highway 33 and 74, Chris says in Logan, units reporting the roadway is extremely slick, and they're sliding all over the place. Not good. And Cody, you never did respond about the sounding, so maybe you split. Let me look at you guys on YouTube, your comments here real quick. By the way, look at this blow up down here in southwest Oklahoma of new activity. Just kind of went from nothing to something. It was really lame down here. And then look at it, just now these heavier green, darker green colors. That's pretty impressive. It's a lot of lift in the atmosphere. All right, and you can see how this stuff is now moving into Tulsa proper. And you'll start getting more reports here of issues as a result. Up here, northeast Oklahoma, southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, some light stuff has gone through. You've got very low dew points. So you're in your single digits. But look how you moisten up. You went from a 3 to a 5, 6, 7, 9, 14. Dropping went to a 12. So a lot of this moisture is being used to moisten up your lower levels. But regardless, so you're still getting some reports of freezing drizzle here and freezing rain here. So that's why it was hard for me to believe you didn't get anything in Enid. It may have, didn't accumulate to a whole lot, but there's got to have been some moisture hit the ground somewhere. Because you were much more moist than these guys were. They were way drier, and they're getting reports. Southeastern Kansas also getting freezing rain reports with their lower dew points, but they're all coming up. So what happens eventually is we're going to get these dew points above 32, and once that happens, it's game over. There's no way you get ice anymore, and then we're done with it. It's just a cold rain at that point. Slick spots in Apache. Okay, so pause this here for a minute. Keep it zoomed in right here. Oklahoma City PD shutting down Highway 52 at I-44 due to numerous collisions on 152. So, is it going to drizzle all night, even after freezing rain moves? Yes. It is. Be like drizzle, light showers, light rain, off and on, kind of a whole mixed bag. Let's go down to Dallas, North Texas again, real quick. All right, we got still like the dew points on here though, but they got freezing rain in Sherman, Denison, McKinney. Is this an old report still? Yeah, that was not that old. 20 minutes ago. They're calling it mixed rain and snow. Oh, over here in was it? I can't tell what town that is. Oh, Ladanya, Wolf City. They've got some freezing rain reported. So there you go, just north of Dallas-Fort Worth. Still getting the winter mix coming in. No reports coming into DFW. These dew points are starting to come up. They were into the teens over here. See, dew point 34 over 28 in Tarrant County. So that they mix right around 32. So time is running out for freezing rain here in the Fort Worth area. They got probably just a little too warm today. So they're getting out of the threat for ice, and it's shifting what's left of it for Dallas County because they have lower dew points to work with. So for a few hours anyway, until these dew points come up, anything that moves through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Dallas will have a chance to get some freezing rain out of it. All right. So Tulsa getting in the heavy stuff all the way down south. You see these little pocket areas here of yellow? See right there? So that's like 40 dBz. Look at that. Yeah, 38, 39, 40 dBz. That's a very heavy rain shower. That's freezing on contact. So you can pick up some very heavy rainfall when that happens. And there's little stretches here. See, it's kind of a wavy look. This is kind of what the models we're looking at. This is where we have 30, 35 dBz. This is where you end up with those really thin strips of very high amounts where you get a quarter to half inch. And if you notice, these darker dBz values are in that area that we talked about in this little sweet spot in our data over the last couple of days. So that's one of the areas we talked about. The picking up some really heavy amounts. So, Lee, I see you down there in Dallas, Rockwall. You guys still might get a little bit of that freezing rain for the next few hours in your area. You had some just to your north, west. Are we expecting the really, really cold rain to get warmer in the morning? Yes, late morning. Sheriff Department of Ponca City around 8 is reporting multiple car wrecks. That's no good. So Cody's in McKinney and has freezing rain. Gotcha. Yeah, you know, I can pull up. Let me go pull up that sounding down there in Dallas. So in Dallas, this was launched at the Fort Worth office at 6 o'clock. That was 4 hours ago. Since then, their temperatures have warmed. But at the time, they were 40 degrees over a dew point of 18. This little blue line right here in the middle is the wet bulb temperature. So in other words, if precip were to fall, that's where the temperature would end up being. And it was right at 32 degrees. So they were right at the border anyway when this thing started. But they have now warmed a couple degrees, or at least a degree, enough to where Tarrant County, where this was launched earlier, is kind of no longer in that little ice zone. But see, they were right on the cusp already when this event started. So that's good news if you don't want ice, which obviously most people don't. All right, let me go look at the advisories. So, look who joined the party. LTTP, Southern Missouri, now has their ice storm warning. It took them long enough. So we talked about that earlier today as to why it was taking them so long to issue. But they've got their ice storm warning now. here in southern Missouri. And hopefully, and this is why I get frustrated, the communicators in TV world that communicate the threat zone, hopefully they don't wait until the National Weather Service says jump and then they say how high. I am hoping that they use their brains like I do and they say, look, I don't care what the advisory says right now. This is what the data shows. This is what I would expect. If the Weather Service issues it or not important. The important thing is the take home is the message. So hopefully these people up here were warned well ahead of time. Otherwise, it's already started. It's already happening. It's still too late, so you really can't plan for that. That's a little me being competitive and on that stuff. I'm very competitive. So remember that we're in the new era. If you see something, say something. Anyway, so that's the other ice storm warning here in Arkansas, right along I-40 toward Fort Smith into Oklahoma, a couple counties in Oklahoma, and then we transferred over into a winter storm warning. And the main difference, if you're asking, technically this is for 1/4 inch of ice or a little more, some leeway there, right in the fence, whereas this is for 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice in these two areas. So the data had always indicated this was a hot spot. This was a hot spot, and then this was a hot spot that kind of kept growing and moving around. So it's kind of a broad brush painted picture here. And so that was our hot spots for the ice and the most likely area for power outages in those regions. Not to say you can't have them outside of that, but that was the most likely area due to the heavier accumulations. And the winds are actually stronger just outside of this zone. The strongest winds are around the I-44 corridor for tonight, and then they'll pick up in the morning in this area here, but as they pick up, the temperatures will start to warm. So there's a trade-off where it may not be as much of a problem with the winds, because if the ice obviously melts off the lines and the trees, then it's too little too late for the wind to do more damage. Okay, and there's nothing here in Dallas. It's all North Texas counties hugging the river. Okay. You're welcome, Nancy. So Lexington is getting slick. Melissa says an ice skating rink in Edmond. Her husband slid from one end of the parking lot to the other. Let me check you guys out on YouTube. Let's see. Let's do this. All right. Move this over so I can see. So Jim is saying, yeah, I gotcha. Highways are being closed. Gary, I-35 was moving at 30 miles per hour and more. Be kind. Thankful for your updates earlier this week that I changed my flight. We had to be de-iced earlier, but made it safely. Excellent. National Weather Service Springfield finally put out ice storm warning. Samuel, yes. Correct. When do you think it's going to hit Fort Smith? Well, take a look. Here's Fort Smith right here. And this is the leading edge knocking on your door. So it'll be very light at first, and it'll gradually get heavier and heavier for each passing half-hour window. And the Darko schools are closed. Yeah, Michael, you might be right. Now, there is a lot of automated weather. I mean, I've got a weather app, and people may be using that and not paying attention to what's happening. I'm not sure. It's a lot of questions on that whole ponderance. Jody, I'm still waiting for you to be my live correspondent in the field. Go put on your Canada Goose. Get out there. Tell me how slick it is. Keep waiting, she says. Actually, I feel really bad. Last time I asked her to go out, we had some ice or something, and she slipped and fell on the She slipped and fell on the sidewalk on the porch and hurt her shoulder. I felt so bad. I was like, oh, because she went walking like a penguin. She went walking like normal. And I was like, I don't think she knew it was icy out there. And I guess I didn't tell her. I don't know what happened. It was a failure to communicate. Boy, I felt like the biggest turd. I mean, her shoulder healed. I mean, it was just a little fall, but still, it was, that's not fun. Let's see. See, I don't send her in the ice anymore. Anyway, you're welcome, Mr. AR-15. My pleasure. I was just joking. I don't want you going out there. You might slip and fall again. That's on me. How's Muskogee looking? Courtney, wet? Icy? Look, you already have a report. Icy sidewalks and driveways. See, yeah, we're the county above Dallas and have freezing rain. Oh, I gotcha. I'm surprised we don't have an advisory.
That makes two of us.
Look, man, I went through this rant before. I don't know what's going on in the Dallas market. It's very ultra conservative. So much so, there's a lot of sitting on the pot instead of making a decision, both on both aspects, government side and private sector side. And I don't know why. I don't get it. It's always been that way. When it comes to tornadoes, they're very lackadaisical. They used to not even cut in, and if they did, it was really rare. They do weather different down there. And then as far as the forecast goes, I don't know, man. It's been the data the whole time. It hasn't changed. The Dallas-Fort Worth has been on the edge every freaking day, and anywhere north of that should have been an easy call. So why they didn't put a weather advisory out, you have to ask the local National Weather Service. So I do my own thing. I don't listen or follow what they do. So I'm not in their office to hear their discussions, water cool discussions as to why they make their decisions. Everybody has their own decisions. We all look at the same data. So it goes back to my video earlier. Not everybody's a great forecaster. So if we're a great decision maker, we all have our flaws. We're all human. So some of us do it better than others, and some of us do it at better times and fail at times. And it's just a mess because we're all human, right? I don't know. I'm not there, so I couldn't tell you why, but they should have. A winter weather advisor would have covered it. Would have been enough. That way there's at least a heads up. So, because last thing you want to do is think it's a cold rain and you're out there sliding around on the ice, which was part of my whole issue here with the local forecast from people that wrote this whole storm off and just called it a cold rain, which irritated the tar out of me to make me make a few posts as a result. So anyway, all right, is Louisiana going to get any of this? I think the very northwestern tip, and that was about it. Denton County, yeah, they've already had ice down there in Denton. Yeah, I know. I'm sure they've treated the overpasses, or should be. I'm sure they have a knee-jerk reaction of crews they can send out. I'm not sure. But I don't know, man. I throw Dallas a bone whenever there's something going on because I'm from there. So I hate to see those guys not get good weather information. Anyway, this new little wave's coming in, this little baby wave on the west side of town, El Reno, Binger, Gracemont, and Anadarko, moving off here to the east. Let me see. There's probably been some new data that's come in since I've been doing all this, considering what time it is. Oh, this is what I want to look at. I want to look at this. Let's refresh. Okay, let me do this. All right, so the data is the same as it's always been. Story is the same. In the morning, every hour, on the hour, we eliminate the temperatures to get above freezing, and we gradually turn the red over to green, and the leftover would be over parts of Arkansas and Missouri as we head to the late morning and early afternoon hours, and then that, by lunchtime, really dwindles, and it's all over with. And then Kansas gets a little taste as well. So this is a model blend of the high-res models, and of course the red is where the freezing rain is. All right, so let's do the accumulation of the freezing rain. And this, you can see, is how they try to fine-tune and pick out these little areas. This is the 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So remember the radar echo I was showing you, where that little batch was? This kind of lines up well with that radar echo. And it does extend here, just clipping Tulsa, and then east on I-40 to Fort Smith, and then back up here into Missouri, where that's over 1/2 inch. This little blue spot, that's over 1/2 inch of ice, and that's where that ice storm warning is located. So, so that's where your most favored positions for power outages. This is just the ice accumulation. And here on the back end, Oklahoma City, see, for example, it splits Oklahoma County in half, northwest side a 1/10, southeast side up to 1/4 inch of ice. Tulsa, looks like you have between 1/4 inch and maybe 1/2 inch. I see some dark green in here. So even this group of models likes to put you on the higher amount of 1/4 inch of ice. So again, that's a problem on the roadways, obviously, and maybe some minor power outages. All right, and then individually, I think we did actually look at all this earlier. I don't think anything's come in since then. What time was it? 10:30? Yeah, I think all this had already come in. Yeah, there's nothing new there. Okay, well, I think I don't know, Sean. I told I texted Rick Mitchell earlier this week. He had made a little video that I really liked. It was about when you're doing your job and you are helping others by doing your job, sometimes you can affect their lives in a way that you did not anticipate. In other words, in his particular case, and I love this story. So a couple reached out to him in email, and he made a cute little joke forecast about their small town, and he called it, their city or their town. So I can't remember their names. Let's call it, Mr. and Mrs. Happy, in town whatever. And he said, this is Mr. and Mrs. Happy forecast in town Texas. And he just did his little joke, a little deal, and just because the guy reached out and asked him something. And anyway, so it turns out that his wife had been terminally ill and had dementia, and that was a situation where it made their day. And then during those periods where she would lose, who she was and where she was and everything, but when she came back, it was always to that moment. So they got to share that moment together. So anyway, it's just something that when you do this kind of stuff, you don't think about how it might impact others, because you're just doing your job, right? You're just trying to help people. So anyway, I'll let him know that was a really cool story, and glad he shared it. On the side note, I said, hey, looks like there might get a little ice in Dallas before it warms up overnight. And then that was it. So I don't know if he ended up putting ice in the forecast. I don't know what he did with that. But anyway, so that was a little story. Noble is getting how much? I'm an LTTP. Oh boy. Tim, I don't know. At one point there was a little Arctic air mass that showed up in the data, and then it kind of faded, and then I never looked at it again because I was too busy putting all my time into this deal. Uh-oh. Oh, Jack almost bit it. So 1/4 inch in Noble for sure. You're probably gonna get a little more than that because I think Daryl was in Noble and already said it was a 1/4 inch. Eleanor, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, that's good that you like the weather. No, Matthew, this is an old video. I mean, it's a live video, but it's been going on for 2 hours. I was only going to do like a 30-minute quick round robin just to show the new stuff moving in, and then we just kind of kept going. So I do need to wrap it up, though, because I was supposed to eat dinner. I never ate. It's 10:30, man. I got to go eat. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up. But so now that you just joined us, so your summary here is you see all the rain. The heavy stuff has moved now east of I-35 for this first round, all the way to northeast Oklahoma. So there's Tulsa now getting a lot of these new reports coming in: icy sidewalks, freezing rain. And what I have on the map is dew point values. So in other words, as long as the dew point value is below 32, you have ice. And as you can see, everybody's below 32. And there's some new stuff coming in here. Southwestern Oklahoma, it's very light, scattered. And then you're going to have some freezing drizzle on top of that moves in. The back edge of the precipitation, significant anyways. It still stays the same. It's kind of snakes around, something like this. So everything west of this line, not going to expect a whole lot. You get a little deal here, and that's moving out. So most would kind of stay east of this line for tonight, and then gradually it'll shift more toward the east as we go to the daybreak hours and over here to Arkansas and Missouri, and they'll pick up their heavy icing overnight as well. And then down here in Texas, if you zoom in, they've had ice from Paris, probably pretty much anywhere from Greenville. Could get it in Rockwall and Dallas. They've had it in Plano. I think they did have it in Denton earlier. So you're still at least under the gun for here. Dew points down here in this area are moderating quickly. And so it's getting harder and harder to get precipitation because the temperatures aren't cool enough yet. Or actually won't be cool enough. They're because things are changing, kind of warming up. So that means Dallas has a better opportunity now to get ice rather than Fort Worth over the next few hours. And points north and east a bit until things moderate down here as well. So that's how it looks down there in North Texas. So there we go, Paris. Somebody asked me about Paris earlier this week. But anyway, there's your freezing drizzle report there. Okay, so there you go. That's the big picture. And then we got more waves after that. There's more stuff here in Texas forming, and that will be moving through overnight into tomorrow. So nothing has changed. The entire forecast that I've had from Sunday, I don't know how I pulled it off, but somehow I nailed the timing, I nailed the day, I nailed the event, the precipitation type, the areas. I can't get any better than that. I'm sorry. I don't know how I did that. Seriously, that was wild. Yeah, and every week I didn't have to change anything. We just repeated the forecast all week long, and I sound like a broken record. But anyway, here we are. So it's ice across the state. It's an ice storm. Some amounts, only 1/10 of an inch to a few hundredths. The north and west you go, from that I-35 corridor, and then it gets a lot heavier once you get east. The latest model is still cranking out 1/4 inch to maybe even 1/2 an inch in many areas, east central, eastern Oklahoma, maybe up toward Tulsa even, and then higher amounts toward the Fort Smith region into northwest Arkansas and southern Missouri, where they have ice storm warnings in effect there. The rest of Oklahoma has mostly a winter storm warning in effect where it's going to be heavy. So there'll be some power outages, higher probabilities in those areas we talked about. Winds will still be up, gusting at times up to around 30 miles per hour over central Oklahoma. Not as strong in eastern Oklahoma for most of the overnight period, but strong enough. So if any ice accumulations, that will be a little bit of an issue. And that's it. And then we'll warm temperatures up hour by hour in the morning so that by the time we're late morning to noon, we should pretty much have most of the ice out of the state. Exception maybe way up to the north, moving into Kansas. But that's about it. And then parts of Arkansas and Missouri for another couple hours, and then they get above freezing as well. So it's a pretty good, well forecasted event. So we'll just have to see, when it all is said and done, is what the accumulations were and did temperatures warm up enough to kind of prevent a big widespread, power outage issue. And the good news is we all get above freezing and it all warms up. Well, let's say at least close to freezing or slightly above for most everybody in the state. And then we get to drought a little bit. And then we have more repetitive rounds this week, but temperatures are going to be warmer, so we won't have to deal with this again. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell. I didn't get a chance to do a blog today. It's too busy, obviously, with all this. So I'll try to do a blog tomorrow for the rest of the week, but off and on wet. That would be my blog. And anyway, all right. Hey, thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for your support, liking the channel, sharing it, subscribing, being a Patreon, signing up with Facebook fan subscriptions or Patreon or YouTube subscriptions, whatever they want to do. If you want to support me in what I do, I spend a lot of time giving to you guys. I'm never, I don't ask for anything. I just donations. If you want to do it, it's great. I'm going to be here regardless, whether you want to or not. It doesn't affect me that way. So this is what I chose to do in my life. So it's what I do. So all right, you guys have a great rest of your night. Be safe. Stay off the roads until lunchtime tomorrow. After lunch, give it a shot. Till then, just hunker down, stay tight, stay dry, and don't fall. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody. Good night.